The $60,000 prize money is a small price to pay. The salvage operation itself is set to cost billions and take years.
Recapping the top story for this hour. Ace Makgashule's former personal assistant, Moradi Cholota, was taken to police custody after landing at the OR Tambo International Airport last night after being extradited from the US. Cholota is expected to stand trial on fraud and corruption charges related to the controversial Free State asbestos roof tender. For SAfm News, I'm Eva Chipa.
A very good morning to you in your SAfm sports headlines. What a night of action as we have an African record shattered. That's Botswana's Tebogo shining incredible 200-meter gold at the Paris Olympics. And let's look at some cricket action. The Proteas will start the third day of the rain-hit match on 344 for 8 wickets. Details at around 6:30.
Getting ahead of the morning with #SAfm BreakFast.
It's 6:07. Good morning. It's a Women's Day special of SAfm Breakfast. We're going to take a little breath today, although, with that being said, it's quite a show today. There's an overall theme that we're focusing on today, and it's a fascinating theme. There's a couple of takes on more or less the same topic over the next 3 hours or so. There will be other things thrown in there, slightly off-center topics that we're going to discuss as well. But there is an overall theme. And our first, and I'm really looking forward to this, we're going to have a conversation just after sport at 6:30 in our special Women's Day event, #Women's Day. We have a conversation about the gender pay gap and closing that gap of inequality. According to South Africa Towards Inclusive Economic Development study released this year, women make 78 cents for every rand that a man earns. And that has increased from 80 odd cents to 78 cents now. So what is going on? Things are getting worse. Things are not getting better. So we're going to have a discussion about that. First of all, why it exists. The history of that, and then what we can do to try and fix that. So that's the conversation we're going to have before 8 o'clock this morning. Then our ongoing theme. We're going to go to England, get an update on what's happening with those. There were actually anti-racism riots happening now. There are more anti-racism riots than there are racism riots happening in the UK. We're going to get an update on that. We're going to talk to Kenny Kunene today. It's all to do with the Miss South Africa issue, but it's also got to do with the issue at Home Affairs. Stolen identity documents, people claiming to be South African, but they aren't. So we're going to talk to Kenny Kunene today. That's after the Patriotic Alliance filed an urgent court interdict against Miss South Africa to disqualify the finalist Chidima Adachina from that pageant finale this weekend. So that's all sort of null and void at the moment because Chidima has pulled out of the Miss South Africa. But we're going to have a bigger conversation with Kenny Kunene about that, and we'll talk about other issues related around this topic, because this has put a spotlight on how IDs work. What is a South African? Can Chidima, for example, enter Miss South Africa? Why can she not? She was born in South Africa. And we'll talk to Kenny Kunene and get an idea of what he thinks about that. Then, while related to that, Action SA has begun its work in Parliament to hold Department of Home Affairs and law enforcement agencies accountable to ensure the strict and uncompromising enforcement of our immigration laws. They've also asked for a full review of people who have claimed South African identity. Is it time, and I'll ask Action SA this, is it time that every South African ever, if you go and renew their ID, to check, and with birth, you see, this is the issue, and I'll ask Action SA this. Is it even possible that every South African has to go now and re-identify themselves? Birth certificates, parents' signatures, all those kind of things. Is it even possible? What is the way to solve this problem? You heard in the news, the EFF councillor that was killed at a protest at the weekend. This was on Sunday. There was a protest where homeless people wanted to occupy empty government-owned flats forcibly. There are issues around around that. I see the JMPD, the EFF were calling for JMPD members to be suspended. They have been suspended now pending investigations. The JMPD members have all handed in their weapons. They're going to find out where the bullets came from. They're going to do ballistic tests on the weapons. We will talk to the MMC for Community Safety in Johannesburg and get an update on that situation. We have more time with Advocate Sipho Mantula today. Looking forward to that. We have an extended edition of the Africa Update. He says he's got some good music. I can guarantee you he's going to have something to do about Women's Day in the songs. So that's something to look forward to later on. And then, remember we took this call. We were one of the first people to get the news that there was those dams that collapsed in the Swartland area, district municipality of the Western Cape, and people were being flooded out because one dam collapsed and then that led to another dam collapsing. We're going to get an update from the West Coast Disaster Management Centre today and find out what the mop-up operations are like. More rain expected in that area this weekend, so it is something we'll get an update on. We were hoping to talk to the Mayor of Cape Town yesterday. We're going to try and get hold of him today. The Cape Town Mayor has added his voice to the Western Cape Premier, urging President Ramaphosa not to gazette the public procurement bill into law, saying that that's going to affect city and provincial work, and it's taking away what they call the constitutional autonomy of local government. Ireland has set up a new bill to make social media companies pay for social media harm. It's kind of a hate speech bill. We'll find out what the legal implications of that is. What is hate speech? What is speech that just offends somebody? Can you offend somebody on social media without getting into trouble? We will find out about that. Then Hewlett's have appealed a 526 million rand levy. This is money that Hewlett's was supposed to pay to the Sugar Association of South Africa. Hewlett's is under business rescue, right? So they were supposed to pay this huge amount of money, 526 million rand. This is money that was going to be used for small farmers in the sugar industry and small businesses in the sugar industry. This levy is used to help those small businesses. Now, the big boy, Hewlett's, is under business rescue and they can't afford it. And they've appealed having to pay these levies and they have successfully appealed it. So what does that mean for the small businesses, these small companies and small little farmers that rely on these levies? We'll talk to an agricultural economist about that. We'll continue our conversation about the Miss South Africa issue. We're going to focus slightly differently. Poor old Chidima Adetshina, or not poor old Chidima. What is her reputation like at the minute? Will she ever be able to compete in anything? This is her job. She's a pageant. It's what these ladies do, and men as well. They enter pageants. And now, what is her reputation? Is her reputation ruined? Can she fix it? Is there any possibility of repairing the damage that she might have experienced, rightly or wrongly? But even if it's wrong, can she fix her reputation? Can she enter another pageant of some sort? We're more than happy to take your calls throughout the show. It's a holiday. It's Women's Day, but we're still taking voice notes. We're still taking calls. Voice notes on 0614 104 107. You can call us on 086 000 2032. No news diary this morning. We'll bring you the weather in a moment. Are we playing a song now? I think we're going to play. Yeah, we are. We're going to chill into your Friday morning.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
South Africa 26, Australia 19. The bronze medal for South Africa from Paris 2024.
Olympic medal is very, very special, and sometimes you only realize it a year or two afterwards. I'm really grateful for our players that they could call themselves Olympic medalists.
For the love of the game. SA Schools football comes alive on the 9th and 10th of August 2024 at Sarawak Park, Wits University for the SA Schools National Championship from 9 a.m. daily. The best under 15 boys and girls representing their province's school teams will battle it out to try and be selected into the under 15 schools national team. Bring your family and camp chairs to support your provincial under 15 team. If you're not in Gauteng, catch the games on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus. For more details, visit safa.net. SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SA Women's Struggles Journal. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development. On this Women's Day, SAfm celebrates the incredible strength, wisdom, and achievements of women everywhere. To all the amazing women, thank you for your endless contributions and inspiration. Happy Women's Day. SAfm, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to SAfm Breakfast.
Lucy Lou, with my girl Drew, Cameron, Dick, and Destiny, Charlie's Angels, come on. Bring it. Question, tell me what you think about me. I buy my own diamonds and I buy my own rings. Only ring your celly when I'm feeling lonely. When it's all over, please get up and leave. Question, tell me how you feel about this. Try to control me, boy, you get dismissed. Pay my own condo and I pay my own bills. Always 50-50 in relationships. The shoes on my feet, I buy. The clothes I'm wearing, I buy. The rock I'm rocking, I buy. 'Cause I depend on me. If I wanted the watch I'm wearing, I buy. The house I live in, I buy. The car I'm driving, I buy. I depend on me. I depend on me. All the women independent, throw your hands up at me. All the honeys making money, throw your hands up at me. All the mamas rocking dollars, throw your hands up at me. All the ladies truly feel me, throw your hands up at me. Girl, I didn't know you could get down like that. Charlie, how your angels get down like that. Girl, I didn't know you could get down like that. Charlie, how your angels get down like that. Tell me how you feel about this. Do what I want, live how I wanna live. I worked hard and sacrificed to get what I get. Ladies, it ain't easy being independent. Question, how'd you like this knowledge that I brought? Bragging on that cash that he gave you is the front. If you're gonna brag, make sure it's your money you fund. Depend on no one else to give you what you want. The shoes on my feet, I buy. The clothes I'm wearing, I buy. The rock I'm rocking, I buy. 'Cause I depend on me. If I wanted the watch I'm wearing, I buy. The house I live in, I buy. The car I'm driving, I buy. I depend on me. I depend on me. All the women, hey, throw your hands up at me. All the honeys making money, throw your hands up at me, baby. Rockin' dollars, throw your hands up at me. All the ladies truly feel me, throw your hands up at me. Get down like that, Charlie, how your angels get down like that. Girl, I didn't know you could get down like that. Charlie, how your angels get down like that. Destiny's Child, you and I have, we'll break these people off, angel style. Child of destiny.
Destiny's Child, Independent Women. It's Women's Day special. You're with SAfm Breakfast. It's 19 minutes past 6. Let me tell you about your weather this morning. A few warnings. So let's start with the impact-based warnings. There's a yellow level 2 warning. Disruptive rain leading to localized flooding of roads and susceptible settlements expected over the southwestern parts of the Western Cape. A yellow level 2 warning of damaging wind and waves leading to difficulty in navigation at sea expected between Alexander Bay and Plettenberg Bay. And a yellow level 1 warning of damaging winds leading to localized difficult driving conditions, rapid spreading of veld fire and localized damage to informal structures expected over the southern parts of the Northern Cape and most of the western parts of of the Eastern Cape. A fire danger warning of extremely high fire danger conditions expected in places over the interior, but excluding the Walter Sisulu and the Sanklu local municipalities. And an advisory that very cold conditions, daytime temperatures of 10 degrees centigrade and below, expected in places over the interior of the Western Cape and Namakwa district in the Northern Cape, or the western interior of the Namakwa district in the Northern Cape. Pretoria, Johannesburg and Vereeniging going to be fine today. The capital 10 to 27, Johannesburg 9 to 26, Vereeniging 9 to 25. Mbombela, Polokwane will be fine today. Mbombela from 9 to 29, Polokwane 7 to 27. Mahikeng, Vryburg, Bloemfontein, Kimberley and Uppington all fine and windy. Mahikeng from 8 to 25, Vryburg 2 to 23, Bloemfontein from -1 to 19, Kimberley 2 to 20, Uppington 3 to 18. Cape Town will be cloudy with rain and showers abating in the afternoon. A fresh to strong northwesterly wind 11 to 14. George is partly cloudy, moderate to fresh westerly to northwesterly 13 to 20. Gqeberha is partly cloudy, a strong northwesterly at first. It'll become southwesterly from late morning 10 to 21. East London's fine, a moderate southwesterly wind becoming light and variable in the evening 14 to 26. Durban is fine, a moderate to fresh northerly to northeaster. It'll become a moderate to fresh southwester from the morning, 16 to 25. Richards Bay is fine, a moderate to fresh north to northeasterly, becoming moderate to fresh southwesterly from the late morning, 19 to 28. In Pietermaritzburg today is fine, 17 to 27.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
The Olympic medalist, Tatiana Smith, representing South Africa.
Tears of joy will certainly flow for Tatiana Smith.
Smith, silver.
I think this one is much different than any of my races. I'm so fortunate to get a medal.
For the love of the game.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last four. This is the MTN 8 quarter-final. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. The Miss South Africa 2024 finale will be live on Saturday, the 10th of August at 6 p.m. from the Sunbet Arena, Times Square, Menlyn, Maine. Good evening, Mzansi! Get your tickets for this crowning moment by going to missa.co.za, downloading the official Miss SA app, or purchasing your tickets on ticketpro.co.za. Come and witness it live.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
Let's get an update on what happened in the UK. Police were mobilised across Britain amid fears of a new round of anti-immigration riots. But what happened is those demonstrations didn't happen and a handful of arrests were made. But there were the other way around. Large and peaceful anti-racism protests emerged in several cities, including London, Bristol, Oxford, Liverpool and Birmingham. Let's find out what's happening in the UK with Musa Mdunge, political analyst based at the University of Dundee. Musa, good morning to you. Thanks very much. Has the tide turned in the UK or is tension still high up there?
Good morning to you and to the listeners. Well, look, for now, it seems as if the tide has somewhat changed. Of course, we will know more and see more over the weekend. There has been, over the past few days, a decrease in the number of protest hotspots in the country, where there were an expectation of over 100 places of potential protests. Over the past few days, only about 36 of those places have turned up to have protests. And this boils down really to the precedent set by the courts throughout this period of not only charging but convicting people of fines or jail time of up to 3 years. And I think that's been an effective deterrent, especially in terms of those who are supporting the far right coming out and protesting. So in terms of where things are now, we could make the argument that the tide has changed, but, the weekend where people have time, have time to do other things will be what is going to be telling about whether really the tide has truly changed.
Has there been a high police presence, particularly the safety of immigration services and other potential targets like that?
Yes, so what the Labour government has really done is really intensify the deployment of police services, right police, in those hotspot areas, especially in areas that are holding asylum seekers, those hotels that host asylum seekers. There's really been an effort by the Labour government to ensure that a strong police presence is there. And let us not forget that many of these protests are happening in predominantly areas that supported either the Labour government, the Labour Party, or voted for the Liberal Democrats, for example. And so seeing protests happening in places like Manchester, Southport, in Liverpool, in Belfast, takes those who are there at the time, reminds them of the 70s, and the period of the Troubles, the winter of discontent. And for the Labour Party, this is not the start they would have wanted. Because just like then, one of the chief arguments raised by the Conservative parties then was that the Labour Party is not a party of law and order. And so to have this happen, especially moved by the far right, one does sense a political agenda behind these protests that would frustrate the process and the glory of a party that is just coming to power, right? That honeymoon season has sort of been broken. But I think the response of the Labour Party coming on strong bodes well for them in terms of changing that image, where before they were not known for law and order. By coming in strong, they certainly are dealing with that reputation in an effective way.
It all was sparked by the misinformation coming from the stabbing of those 3 girls. What has the UK done in addressing this misinformation scourge?
Well, look, what much can they do, right? So beyond an effective counter-communication campaign by the government, which has somewhat and been effective, because you see it evident by the fact that you have these counter-racist campaigns that have really been dominating the response. And I think that boils down to the effectiveness of civil society in terms of its own social media campaign, the government's own social media campaign. But in many ways, the long-term solution to this is about dealing with social media companies and getting them to be more responsible in the kind of mechanisms they place in blocking out the kind of fake news or misinformation that we see happening currently. And of course, we understand that the tide, the phenomenon of fake news really stemmed quite strongly, after 2016 with the Brexit/Donald Trump election, but certainly COVID-19 contributed, and governments, unfortunately, have not mounted an effective response to what social media companies' duties are in terms of stemming out fake news, but what are the kind of mechanisms that the state can provide in supporting these companies without encroaching in terms of the right of information, the freedom of expression. Those things are also quite key. And so the balancing act, unfortunately, I think has not been found. And so we are likely going to see many more of these type of incidences where fake news drives the agenda, drives the decisions of many people to go out in the streets, and the government's lackluster communication only sees a follow-through days later. And until governments mount up an effective response and take communication serious, then we won't see ourselves out of this crisis.
We're going to be talking about what Ireland are doing in a new bill that they're setting up just after 8 o'clock today. Let's just wrap it up. As you said, hundreds of arrests, many of them under the age of 21. Tell us what the Prime Minister is saying, that swift justice and strong punishments are going to be the deterrent here.
Certainly. And the reason he speaks this way, he speaks to that history that I've just given you, that complex history for the Labour Party. These protests, don't do well for their brand, and in many ways is what the Labour Party then tends to be associated with. Thus, its relationship with the unions, for example, has always been one that has drawn questions. That how can you be an effective government and have so strong a relationship with the unions? The same questions, by the way, that bog the South African story in terms of the ANC and its tripartite alliance. So for Keir Starmer, coming out very strong has really been the core of his message, to show that his government is ahead of things, that the British people can trust the Labour Party with law and security and the economy. But I think the long-term thing here is economic transformation, because again, look at the areas where these protests are happening. What is common in all of them? A decrease in manufacturing and economic activity. And the fact that so many young people are the ones who are being arrested is telling of that very economic crisis.
Musa, are there worries about something happening this weekend? You said that when people are away from
Definitely,
work.
yes.
Yep.
There are definitely worries about this weekend, that there will be protests, so I expect that there'll be a huge police contingency that will be looking at all those key areas where we've seen protests happening. Again, the role of intelligence is going to be important in quelling any kind of violence this weekend.
Musa Mdunga, thank you very much. Political analyst based at the University of Dundee in the UK.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, morning to you. So I understand, right? Noah Lyles was fine and jumping around and having a great time, and then he didn't win and he's got COVID.
And he's got COVID.
Just like that.
He was wearing a mask before he ran, but it's a bit irresponsible to be running with COVID.
Shaking hands with all the winner, hugging and... What happened? What happened on the track?
Let's see. Teboho. Man, making history for Botswana as well as sprinting in Africa. Incredible. It was a thrilling 200-meter final yesterday at the Paris Olympics. The first African to win the Olympic 200 meters men's title is Teboho Letsile, just 21 years old. He clocked an African record of 19.46 seconds, securing the gold medal. The American Kenny Bednarek took silver, while pre-race favourite and 100-meter champion Noah Lyles settled for bronze with a time of 19.7 seconds. Now, Teboho's victory upstaged Lyles. It also set the milestone for African sprinting on a global stage. Golf at the Olympics. Morgan Metro took the lead of the women's golf event at the Paris Olympics. The Swiss golfer shined in the second round, closing with a 6 under 66. China's Ruoning Yin sits in second place after completing a bogey-free second round of 65. Lydia Ko of New Zealand is in third place thanks to a second round of 67, which allows her to move into medal contention. Soccer action. Morocco claimed the bronze medal at the Olympic men's soccer tournament with a 6-0 win over Egypt. In the meantime, Issa Hayatou, the long-serving former president of the Confederation of African Football, has died at the age of 77. The Cameroonian spent 29 years at the head of the continental governing body, assuming presidency in 1988 and leaving office in 2017. He's also held high positions within world governing body FIFA. Hayatou was a member of the Switzerland-based organization's executive committee, now known as the FIFA Council, from 1990 to 2017. More soccer news. Chelsea winger Raheem Sterling says he misses playing for England because it's one of the best feelings you can ever have. The 29-year-old has not played for his country since the 2022 World Cup when he flew home to attend a family emergency during the tournament in Qatar. Now, former manager Gareth Southgate left the forward out of multiple squads since then, including his team for Euro 2024. Southgate resigned following the defeat against Spain in the final, and the Football Association is yet to appoint his successor. But under-21 boss Lee Carsley is expected to take interim charge of the Nation League's game that will happen in September. And finally, cricket. In the first test against the West Indies, the Proteas ended day 2 with a strong 344 for 8. Captain Temba Bavuma led the charge with 86, while opener Tony de Zorzi added 78. Despite a rain-affected start, the Proteas capitalised on a flat pitch, but the West Indies fought back late in the day. Jamel Warrican was the pick of the Windies bowlers, taking 3 wickets, including 2 in the final session. The Proteas innings will resume with Kagiso Rabada and Vian Mulder at the crease, looking to push the total beyond 400 runs. That's where we leave it. I have got to run. Like Tebogo Letsile.
You're running now.
My mouth.
It's not as difficult, I would say.
Oh, really?
Although it's also a challenge. I'm still imagining... We had that conversation when I was beginning the Olympics, or 2 weeks ago, when I said, which sport would you do at the Olympic Games? Are you sticking with tennis?
Tennis, buddy.
Tennis. Yeah. I was thinking about that on the drive today, just how difficult a task that would be.
Or maybe pickleball.
Is that even a sport?
I know.
Paddle and pickle, I don't get it.
Paddle is a little bit more strategy to it, but pickleball.
I don't
even
get
a...
it.
Let me not say it.
Maybe we got to try it. Have you played it?
Yes.
Oh, and okay. I haven't tried
There's
any
the
of those.
Irish club, not far from here.
No, there's a whole lot of... Everywhere's got these things. Man, I'm going to try
Paddle, not pickleball. There's only one place that I've seen pickleball.
Oh, pickleball.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Well, pickleball is a bit like you playing on a... ping pong sort of setup. And... it's like ping pong.
You've got to find. Sorry, I got distracted. There's a guy who does it. It must be on YouTube, but it's on TikToks as well. Where he's got a drink in his hand and he's trying to explain to Jason. He explains to himself, but he explains to Jason about how to make a new sport. And the one I was watching yesterday is table tennis. Right, so we're going to play tennis without running. All right, and it's going to be done on a small table with a small net, and we're going to steal the pedals from the guy who brings in the aeroplanes.
Oh yes, actually,
table tennis.
There we go.
But he does.
New sport.
He does all of the sports.
You know, I'm so shocked that there's no cricket at the Olympics, even a T10, for example.
They're talking about
but
T20s.
They've got no netball either.
No, netball is that's an issue.
That's a big one.
But also golf shouldn't be a 4-day golf tournament. It should be match play. Person against person, doof, and you get knocked out through, as you do in any other sport.
Or like speed golf, or that running golf that they do now.
You get one club, go. Zykan, thank you very much.
Bye.
More with Zion in an hour's time.
Don Gerika on SAfm.
Revolutionaries die, and the children forget. The ghetto is our first love, and our dreams are drenched in gold. We don't even cry. We don't even cry about it no more. Are the beautiful ones really dead? children forget. Children forget. The ghetto is our first love, and our dreams are drenched in gold. We don't even cry. We don't even cry. We don't even cry about it no more. Our beautiful ones are really dead.
18 minutes to 7, you're with SAfm. I'm John Gericke. Good morning. That was Tandiswa Mazwai in a special Women's Day edition of SAfm Breakfast. We're going to be commemorating National Women's Day, have a conversation about the gender pay gap and how do we close that next.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
Alan Hatherley of South Africa, he steps up to receive the bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. He is the first South African medal in cycling since 1912. Rudolph Lewis won the individual time trial. Congratulations, Alan Hatherley, your country is proud of you.
For the love of the game.
In August, we celebrate our amazing women farmers who nourish and clothe our nation.
Farmers and researchers and academia can work closely.
Catch Living Land on Sundays at 11 a.m. on SABC2.
SAfm is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAfm and SMS the keyword SAfm88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. You are listening to SAfm Breakfast.
It's 6:45. We've got some time this morning and we're going to have a little conversation now about the gender pay gap. It's increasing. According to South African Towards Inclusive Economy Development study released this year, a woman makes 78 cents for every rand that a man earns and widens gender segregation in the labor market. It has implications on how women take care of their families. There's an issue about women-headed households across the country. That's 42.2% of households are women-headed. Half of all households in the rural areas are headed by women. Let's talk a little bit more about this with a couple of guests. Executive Director of Wise for Africa, Advocate Brenda Madumise Pajibo, and we'll also be joined by Chief Executive Officer of Soul City, Pina Kodisang. Let's start with you, Advocate. Good morning. Tell me about the gender pay gap. We could ask questions about why it happens, but why is it increasing?
Good morning, and good morning to the listeners. It's a good question. Why is it increasing when we have put a spotlight on it for so many years? So one of the things that why it's increasing is because it's shrouded in secrecy, salaries and disparities of how you remunerate people, right? So we don't want to discuss those things openly, right? That's why we get away with it, because it's shrouded in secrecy. The second thing is that we still don't think women deserve to be paid equally with men, because we believe that they are inferior and they don't deserve to be paid just because of their gender, and that is persistent across all over the world, and that's why we then take companies, we take governments to court precisely to register our discontent and bring out the whole discrimination bias around paying women lesser than men. It persists because we don't have heightened levels of consciousness on gender equality. We just talk about it. We make platitudes about it. We stand up in podiums. I'm sure you're going to hear today President saying something, everyone saying a lot about Women's Day. But when it comes to the crunch of putting it in action, we fail dismally to do that.
Before I come to you, Pina, how important, advocate, is the types of jobs that women take or are forced to take in this survey?
It's listen. So we acknowledge and we all know that you find women in most precarious jobs, right? And if you look at in South Africa in particular, majority of women you find in the service industry, right? And low paying. If you look at it, if you look at retail, majority women, but low paying. You find women in hospitality, low paying, right? You find women in the health sector, especially if you look at nurses, low paying. And so these industries have not moved at all to recognize that you know. So when we talk of the care economy, as it has been spoken about for many years, is recognizing that the majority of women do triple jobs, right? It's being employed formally, but also now having to take care of households with the meager salaries that they're earning, and no one recognizing how that affects their well-being in total. And if you don't do that, you're going to continue to plunge majority of women and families into poverty.
Pina Kurasang, let me bring you in here, Chief Executive Officer of Soul City. Tell me about the motherhood penalty, the career interruptions. Maybe companies don't necessarily want to hire young women if they haven't had children yet. Is that a thing?
There's a lot of things happening because of how patriarchy also penetrates workspaces, policy spaces. You know, we have policies that are meant to put women ahead. You know, we have employment equity, where we say we need to make sure that in organizations, because of where women come from, we hire more women. But even then, we don't hire women in management positions. We keep women in low-ranking positions where they are still paid low salaries in comparison to their male counterparts who are doing the same jobs. So honestly, patriarchy finds manifestation in different ways. And as Advocate Madumisa say, we keep women out because of their gender, and there's nothing else. It's not that they are less educated. It's not that they are less intelligent. It's not that they are less capable. It's just that they are women, and we hate women, especially Black women.
And your view on the different employment opportunities allowed for men and women. Men maintain formal jobs. Women across the country have the informal jobs.
True. And maybe let's not even go far. Let's just come to Bafana and Banyana, because for me that always remains a classic example of how we have two groups playing the same game, same rules, same number of people in the pitch, but the pay is different, right? And there's no reason why it should be different. And as Brenda was saying, because women do care work, we reduce care work to less paying, And we believe it's part of a woman's job to nurture. Taking care of the sick is a woman's job. Making sure that the home is clean is a woman's job. And we reduce it to that. And care work is therefore not compensated. It's not even considered as work. So to continue saying women are the highest unemployed, when in actual fact they are doing more work than men, it's unfair. So we need to shift and move to paying women even for the care work that they do in the home and compensating it properly. We need to put value to the fact that, women are cleaning these homes, women are making sure children are looked after, the sick are looked after, and put value to it that is worth what it is.
We're going to continue this conversation in a moment. We're going to come up with trying to find solutions. Advocate Brenda Modimisi Pajibo is Executive Director of WISE for Africa, and Pina Kodisang is Chief Executive Officer of Soul City. Let's find solutions for this after this.
TV licenses have developed a new GIS-linked national address database to ensure that we can communicate with all our valued license holders. We now have a visual of all licensed and unlicensed households nationwide in order to effectively communicate with you. We remind you to take note of our payment reminders and avoid paying penalties due to non-compliance or choosing to ignore your legal obligation to pay your license fees. We can communicate with all our license holders through cost-effective electronic methods, enabling us to collect license fees and continue to support the national broadcaster, the SABC, in accordance with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act No. 4 of 1999 as amended. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
South Africa 26, Australia 19. The bronze medal for South Africa from Paris 2024.
Olympic medal is very, very special, and sometimes you only realize it a year or two afterwards. I'm really grateful for our players that they could call themselves Olympic medalists.
For the love of the game. Witness the global battle of great athletes from South Africa and from all over the world in the Olympic Games Paris 2024. From the heart-pounding races on the track to the graceful routines on the gymnastics floor, each event promises to deliver moments of sheer brilliance and sporting excellence. Live the intense rivalries, inspiring comebacks and record-breaking performances right here across all SABC TV channels, SABC radio stations, on the move with SABC Plus or online on sabcsport.com. Hashtag the global battle of great athletes. The Olympic Games Paris 2024. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAfm Breakfast, bringing you the freshest start to your day.
6 minutes to 7, it's SAfm Breakfast. I'm John Gericke. We're talking about the gender pay gap. Let's ask Advocate Brenda Modimisi Pajibo, Executive Director of WISE for Africa. Advocate, one of the things you raised right at the beginning is this shroud of secrecy when it comes to pay. Would that help if we all discussed how much money we make?
What is there to hide? And so let's look at companies that are on the stock exchange. Because they need to file their annual reports, their pay is in the annual report. So that's public. We get to know what the executive officer of Anglo American of MTN is earning, right? Because there's a listing requirement that must be disclosed, right? But you then don't see anything else from that. So anyone below CEO, you will not see how much they're paying because we are told of privacy and all of that, right? Even in government, if you look at the pays of director generals, because there's a disclosure that is required, we get to know even when you apply for those jobs, they will give you a salary bracket, right? But the practice is that once the negotiation starts and you are offered employment, even when you knew that this director general was any with the same experience and all of that, when you negotiate your salary you have been told that we are giving you entry-level salary, and it's not what was offered previously to the previous DG or employee. So for me, the secrecy assists in defending all of these things and keeping it out in the out of the public eye. It justifies why people continue to do it, because they can get away with it. They will tell you that they're obligated by law not to release that kind of information. But what we're looking for is leadership that is conscious enough to understand the implications of their actions and in understanding why they need to compensate their employees fairly, and recognizing that you have two genders that are capable. Pina spoke about capability and intelligence and everything else. They're equal. So why do you believe that they don't deserve to be compensated accordingly? And I think for me, it's at the heart of how we view women in society, and continue to believe that they are lesser than, right? So if we change that mindset from the CEO level, from the board level, where you set the tone at the board level that in this company, our attitude and approach and posture is going to be that we believe in equity, we believe in equality, and it's just words that we use, but we see it in action, because then your employees will tell us. We'll see how they behave and how they're treated. That will translate into how they see themselves and how they are productive in the company. So we have to do that.
Pina Kurasang, obviously at Soul City, community organisation working to support women. What can I do as a general public to help, I guess, women-owned small business, just support them more?
We need to support them more. We need to avail resources, give them proper startup capital, not loans, because if I'm starting from zero and you are giving me a loan to repay back, you are not helping me to move forward, right? And we know that there's no freedom if we don't have the economic means to meet our basic needs. And as you rightfully said in the beginning, 40% of homes are women-led. And it's 40% also that are below the poverty line. So we need to really, do equitable interventions for women and not make them or continue perpetuating the cycle of their poverty. It's unfair to women. They don't deserve the position they find themselves in because of the previous laws we had in our countries, because it was legislated. The exclusion of women was legislated. So we cannot continue in a democracy that is 30 years old to continue putting women, as Brenda says, as a low class, and continue to promote men in these positions and make women even more vulnerable to sexual violation, because then it starts getting there. The more women are paid less, the more men with power start using and abusing that power. So we need to really be equitable in our interventions.
Advocate, last word to you. We've got a minute. This research, how important is research like this, and will anybody actually read it and make changes from this?
That's a good question. Listen, research is always important, and we need to continue to advocate for research to be undertaken, because it helps us to intervene correctly and appropriately. So I'm hoping that someone is listening to this conversation in the private sector, in government, in the work that we do as NGOs, and start to advocate for changes that we want to see. And in government, they use these kinds of reports to really interrogate their own policies and see if they are effective, those policies. Private sector is one of the biggest culprits, because, we always give them a pass and not look and focus on them and how they work. And I think, and I'm hoping that they're also listening to this conversation, that they have the report with them, and they're going to do their best to ensure that pay equity becomes a reality for many South Africans. We can't continue to go to court and force people to do the right things. The right things must just happen because we know that is the right thing, and you do it because you are conscious enough as a human being as a leader that this is the right thing to do.
Advocate Brenda Madumise Pajibo, thank you very much. Executive Director of WISE for Africa. Also Pina Kodesang, Chief Executive Officer of Soul City. Thanks very much for joining us in that conversation. What do you make of that? I see some voice notes have come through. We'll take calls on that as well later on in the program. So we didn't have time now to squeeze both of those guests in. So we'll take some of your voice notes after the news at 7 o'clock.
Top stories for this hour. Makgashole's former PA taken into police custody, and the US, Egypt and Qatar call for ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Good morning, I'm Eva Chipa. Ace Makgashole's former personal assistant Muradi Cholota was taken into police custody after landing at the OR Tambo International Airport last night after being extradited from the US. Cholota is expected to stand trial on fraud and corruption charges related to the controversial Free State asbestos roof tender. National Police spokesperson Atlenda Mate says Cholota is expected to appear in court in Bloemfontein on Monday.
What will happen, they will come to the police station where the lead investigator will receive her, and then thereafter he will then arrest her on the J50 warrant of arrest that was issued by the NPA. She will then be whisked away to police holding cells, and at a later stage she will be transported to Bloemfontein, where she is expected to appear in court next week or to be formally charged on the charges she is facing.
The MK Party spokesperson Hlamulo Ndlela has confirmed the removal of 18 of its MPs from the National Assembly. He says 12 members were already sworn in as MPs, but the other 6 were to be sworn in at a later stage. Ndlela says those members abused the trust of the party, which entrusted them by putting names on a list to Parliament that were not supposed to have been there.
Our list was compromised by individuals who were given a task to populate and capture names in the system. Instead, they went and handpicked friends, family members, and even neighbors and populated our list accordingly, and then yet misled us by giving us a list which was not a true reflection of what they had captured. Now, the same members, before being sworn in on the day, it was communicated with them that they received letters communicating that they would be replaced. The other option, which is that they could be sworn in and then be replaced at a later stage, or they not be sworn in at all. They chose to be sworn in, knowing very well that at some point they're going to be replaced.
In other news, Western Cape authorities say no evacuations are expected for now at Riverlands near Milesbury after dam walls burst yesterday, leaving hundreds of homes flooded. 17 people, including 2 children, were rescued from the floodwaters, with road and infrastructure and rail networks also damaged. The Provincial Agriculture Minister, Dr. Ivan Meyer.
Well, the situation at the moment is quite devastating, but I want to firstly thank the local municipalities, the Disaster Management Centre and all the organisations, Gift of the Givers, as well as the West Coast District Municipality and Swartland Municipality, because this is really a devastating crisis that has been affecting people since early this morning, and what we now need to do is to assist and give people access to food, home meals, and to look at their humanitarian needs.
Some women in Pofadder in the Northern Cape say unemployment and the lack of women empowerment remains their biggest challenges this Women's Month. As the country marks Women's Day today, they are hoping that their pleas for jobs would be heard. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to officiate this year's Women's Day commemorations in Pofadder. The day marks 68 years since some 20,000 women marched against the oppressive past laws. However, some women in Pofadder believe they are now fighting a new struggle of unemployment despite the town being next to mines.
All the men is getting work, but the woman does not get work. So why can't we work at the mining? Why? I just want that answer.
I hope for matrics, when they finish the school, they must go there and help them with bursaries.
They must empower more women, and it's very important for us to be empowered.
Looking at news on the continent, the Africa Centre for Disease Control and Prevention says it will soon declare the Mpox outbreak a public health emergency. The agency's director said that he was alarmed by the infection rates that have risen by 160% on the continent in the past year. The BBC's Richard Kagoe has more.
The Africa CDC plans to hold talks with the Africa Union and the Africa Union Commission to strengthen the response to the outbreak. Jean Kesser, the agency director, says that once approved, countries will be required to notify the agency of any outbreaks within their borders. This would assist in mobilizing resources and accelerating vaccine research and development. 16 countries, including Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda and Kenya, who were previously not affected, have detected the virus.
And lastly, the US, Egypt and Qatar have issued a joint statement calling on Israel and Hamas to resume negotiations over a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. Israel has agreed to attend the proposed talks in Doha or Cairo. However, Hamas has not responded while efforts to bring the two sides to the negotiation table continue. Hani Al-Madoun, who is from Gaza and works for the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, says he's not optimistic about the ceasefire talks.
My heart tells me, I should always be optimistic. I just find this a challenge. I'll believe it when I see it. There's been a lot of talk since April about a serious push for a ceasefire. It's not very complicated, but it seems that there is a lack of political will. Unfortunately, every day passes, every hour passes, more Palestinians are either dead by the bomb or dead by starvation. And that's the reality we see in Gaza every day.
Recapping the top story at 7, Ace Makashule's former personal assistant Muradi Cholota was taken into police custody after landing at the OR Tambo International Airport last night after being extradited from the US. For SAfm News, I'm Eva Chipa.
A very good morning to you. In your SAfm sports headlines, we're looking at the Olympics and we have Teboho Letsile. Well, he's made history, the first African winning Olympic 200-meter gold. And we also have the Proteas. They are in action, looking strong in this first test against the West Indies. We'll bring you details at around 7:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. On the roads, a couple of issues to be aware of. A crash approaching OR Tambo International Airport coming down the R21 South. So having left Pretoria, Clayville or Tembisa, the crash just past the Atlas Road exit. A big enough collision to be blocking 3 lanes. So certainly some queuing pressure there. Truck has collided, blown over in strong winds, I believe, on Van Reenens Pass. That's blocking the Joburg-bound carriageway. So there is a contraflow in operation. All traffic over Van Reenens using or sharing lanes on the Durban-bound carriageway. So just be aware of some potential delays through there. Also, a truck crash just south of Shlushlui, if you're moving between Shlushlui and Matuba, but that's likely to cause some problems. And Cape Town in the rain this morning, so take it easy if you're driving across the greater Cape Town area. We've also got the Total Sport Women's Race event in the Cape Town CBD, so plenty of road closures either in or going in. The main closures from 7:45 this morning. All lanes, all routes through the CBD expected to be open by 11 a.m. this morning. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Getting ahead of the morning with hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
Welcome to the show. I'm John Kerricker. It is 8 minutes past 7 o'clock. We're going to be talking about a couple of issues in this hour. First of all, we're hoping to talk to Kenny Kunene, who is the Deputy President of the Patriotic Alliance. It's all kind of null and void at the moment, but they filed an urgent court interdict against Miss South Africa to disqualify finalist Chidima Adachina. We'll talk about that in a bit. Action SA has begun its work in Parliament to hold the Department of Home Affairs and law enforcement agencies accountable. And the MMC for Safety and Security, also an EFF councillor, was killed at the weekend, and there's been movement on that as well, where JMPD officers have been suspended. The EFF were calling for those members to be suspended. They were also questioning why there were private security forces there as well. We're going to talk to the MMC for Community Safety in Johannesburg and find out what happened in Alex and what is being done about the killing of that EFF councillor. So stay close. You're with SAfm. We're going to can we take a voice note or two on that topic that we were talking about earlier, on the gender pay gap? Let's take a couple of these voice notes we've got so far. No, not those ones. We're not going to take voice notes now. We're going to take voice notes later on that gender pay gap. I know some of them have come in. We're also willing to take your calls, 086 000 2032. Lots to talk about. It's a special, slower version of Women's Day breakfast today.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
Alan Hatherley of South Africa, as he steps up to receive the bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. He is the first South African medal in cycling since 1912. Rudolph Lewis won the individual time trial. Congratulations, Alan Hatherley. Your country is proud of you.
For the love of the game. Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. Contestants are taken on a flavor journey and must work in teams to bake a colorful, multi-layered cake inspired by the smooth vibes of a tropical island. Featuring special guest judges Mimi and Holly from Baking with the Rays. That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last four. This is the MTN8 quarter-final. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Keeping you informed and ready for the day ahead on hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
Clarity is clear to see.
Just before we go to the song, sorry, I just need to make a quick correction. I was referring to Moshe Mpahlele as an MMC. I got my words wrong there. Correction. This is the EFF that has called for the removal of security companies deployed in Alexandra. Their ward councillor, Moshe Mpahlele, died during a protest on Sunday. We're going to be talking about that later on. So apologies for getting the title wrong. Moshe Mpahlele was a ward councillor, but we will be talking to the MMC for community safety in a little while here on SAfm.
Don Gerika on SAfm.
Clarity is clear to see. I think it's time we confronted the situation in front of us. And I think it's time we talk it out and forget all the fuss. And if it's not me, I'll have to understand, and I'll be out your way. No drama involved, but if you feel it's me, if you feel I'm the one, you're gonna need to make a way for me to see. But as for me, you're the one in my heart. Time will come till the end, I'ma always be right by your side. But as for me, you're the one in my heart. Time will come till the end, I'ma always be right by your side. I know you're the one, I know our time will come. I feel you in my heart, I see you in my dreams, I keep you in my prayers. I think it's time you admit that I'm the only one for you, yeah. And I think it's time you let go of all your fears and just trust me, babe, 'cause I know you are. And I know this isn't what you're meant to do. You have pure intentions, what is the issue? So just open up and let me see inside. Maybe you should just put your pride aside. But as for me, you're the one in my heart. Time will come till the end, I'ma always be right by your side. But as for me, you're the one in my heart. Time will come till the end, I'ma always be right by your side. I know we can make it, baby. take a chance on me. Let me show you good times, baby. Take a chance on us. Take a chance on us. But as for me, you're the one in my heart. Time will come till the end. I'ma always be right by your side. But as for me, you're the one in my heart. Time will come till the end. I'ma always be right by your side. I know you're the one. I know our time will come. I feel you in my heart. I see you in my dreams. I keep you in my prayers.
You're the one on SAfm. It's 7:15.
John Gerika on SAfm.
All right, it's kind of all null and void at the moment, but let's discuss this a little more with Patriotic Alliance Deputy President Kenny Kunene. He filed an urgent court interdict against Miss South Africa to disqualify finalist Chidima Adachina from the pageant finale this weekend. He joins us now. Kenny, good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. It's all null and void. Are you pleased with the way things worked out?
Thank you, John. Good morning, and good morning to your listeners. Let me start by wishing all the women out there a happy Women's Day and month. May they have joy and peace and love, of course. John, indeed, we are happy that the Nigerian woman has withdrawn from the contest, because that's exactly what we wanted the court to actually order her to do. But it was not out of her good heart. Yesterday at 9:29 a.m., our lawyers made contact with Stephanie, who is the CEO of Miss South Africa, and alerted her that they would be sending court papers to interdict the Nigerian woman from participating.
All right, hold on. Kenny, I just want to interrupt you there. I'm sorry. You refer to Chidima as a Nigerian woman. Why do you do that and not just refer to her by her name?
She's a Nigerian woman.
All right, but her name is Chidima.
I can't pronounce
Chidima.
her name.
Let me help you, Kenny. Her name is Chidima.
No. But you can pronounce it. I can't pronounce it. So
try. I have to try.
I
have to try. You can try as well. Say Chidima for me.
No. I can't say that.
You can't say Chidima.
Yes, I can say it.
Okay, but she's not Nigerian. She was born in South Africa.
No. You see, that is the problem.
Okay, tell me.
So let me just finish. So we filed papers with them. We filed papers with the Minister of Home Affairs. We filed papers with the court. And a few hours later, she decides to withdraw. When earlier in the week, she told people that no one will remove her from this contestation. So she withdrew because of the pending court matter that we brought before the courts. Number two, when you say that she was born in South Africa, there's a lot of lies being peddled here. Her father says he came here in 2010, which then makes her to be 14 years. So when was she born in South Africa? So and here is Home Affairs saying that the mother fraudulently got her this ID through identity theft. So there's a lot of contradictions happening here. So we can't say she was born in South Africa. She could have been born somewhere else.
What did Home Affairs say? When Home Affairs were asked, Home Affairs stood up at a press conference. What did they say? Where was she born?
No, they said the ID was here. They can't 100% say she was born here. There are women who come from Zimbabwe, heavily pregnant. They get off Park Station. They go to Rahima Musa. They give birth. They register the children and go back to Zimbabwe.
Yes.
That could have been the situation. She could have come from Mozambique. The mother could have been pregnant, come here.
Okay, so should we not end speculation, Kenny? Should we not end speculation and wait for the final result? It's separate from your court interdict that you were going to do, which is a separate issue. Should we not wait for Home Affairs to do this investigation, give us all of the facts, and then rely on those facts?
Let's deal with the facts. The fact is her father is Nigerian.
She claims it's not her father. You see, this is the issue. There's still speculation
There's no
about it.
dispute that her father is Nigerian. That's number one. All right. Why would she appear in a video and be celebrated by Nigerians after being accepted to contest as Miss South Africa? Why wasn't she celebrated by South Africans? Why couldn't she go to South Africans? Why would she go to Nigerians to go and celebrate with Nigerians?
Okay. All right. So could this have been handled more delicately, Kenny Kunene?
There's nothing delicate about criminality. There's nothing delicate.
It's not,
These
okay.
Nigerians come here.
All right, hold on. You say criminality.
Yes.
Who is the criminal here? Who's the alleged criminal here?
Her mother.
Her mother? Yeah.
Her mother is a criminal, and she's a
Alleged criminal?
beneficiary. She's a beneficiary of criminality.
Okay.
Yes,
so
she
so
was
the
a child.
daughter
Yes,
is a
she was a
beneficiary.
child.
Hold on. The daughter is a beneficiary of criminality.
Yes.
Okay.
She has gotten an ID through identity theft, through fraud.
Mhm.
So if she is a decent person, she will hand over when you have bought something which was stolen or robbed.
Mm-hmm.
When you are a decent person and you find out that this thing has been robbed, you return it.
Do we know that she knew?
So she can return. She can return the ID and say, no, I'm a beneficiary of my mother's crime. I'm returning the ID. I'm going back to Nigeria to go and get my papers right.
Let's take a call. 086 000 2032. Mpumelelo, hi.
Good morning, John, and congratulations. The listeners know Ms. Bond Nyoka. They know, but I was asking for my Mpumelelo Bond Nyoka, Natini and Kabech.
Yeah.
I just wish to respond to this, and I've been talking about this last night twice on night as an analyst. This action is misplaced. I like Kenny Kunene, I like the Patriot Alliance, but the action is misplaced for the following reasons. The Miss South Africa beauty pageant was formed in 1943 by a voluntary association. It's a private enterprise. It's not a constitutional requirement. As far as 1943, it was not even featured in the Freedom Charter as part of the things to be nationalized. So it's not nationalized. Anyone can wake up and form a Miss South Africa, just like Carol Bauer has got Miss World South Africa. Who's Miss South Africa is going to go to Miss World? This Miss South Africa cannot go to Miss World. It will go to Miss South Africa, to Miss Universe, because it allowed also a person of a different gender to participate as a female, and it lost its license. So there's no constitutional provision. That's the first point. Number two, in order to succeed in an agent interdict, you must show irreparable harm. Unless the Patriot Alliance was a stakeholder in Miss South Africa, then we will say, you fellow members of the OMA organization, we are doing the wrong thing. The organization set its role about participation. Even if Miss South Africa, the requirement was one, it was someone who participated at least once in a marathon, comrade marathon. That would have been Miss South Africa, but the attendance would have been little. So it's voluntary. You can wake up and do any other contest. You see?
Yep,
and you are quite right to say it's interim finding. So they do not have a standing in law. They will not suffer any irreparable harm. They are going to the wrong people. Why they withdrew, we don't know exactly. But Miss South Africa organization cannot afford to have this negative publicity. Maybe they told her, just withdraw, not because of Kenny Kunene. She cannot claim that he must not claim he's the victorious. Thank you.
Kenny, your response to that?
A pending court case, and our lawyers believed that we stood a chance. And we are not talking constitutionality here. This is Miss South Africa. It's a cultural event. When you become Miss South Africa, you must go and talk about our culture. You must go and be the ambassador of the country. You can't do that when you're a Nigerian. Comrade Marathon is not South African Comrade Marathon. It's Comrade Marathon. So they must call it a beauty contest. Let them not put our country in the name and expect foreigners to participate in that contest. It is for South Africans. Now she has deprived one of the South Africans from contesting there, because now she has withdrawn, and the others who could have gone in, or one of those who could have gone in, can't go in because it's too late. So whether it's a private entity or not, we know it's a private entity. But because they put the name of our country there, we have got a voice. We have got, as South Africans, as patriotic South Africans, we have a voice to say, no. You cannot say Miss South Africa and put a Nigerian. We are refusing. That is why there was so much public outcry. And these patriotic South Africans called upon the Patriotic Alliance to intervene and to assist. And that is why we intervened, because we share their views as the majority of South Africans who are saying, we don't want this. We want this to be purely South African.
I just feel as if, Kenny, there are a lot of conclusions that you're jumping to here. The fact that Chimunda knew about the incident, Chidima, that she knew that her mother had done something illegal. She had an ID number. She gave that ID number to the Miss SA pageant. The SA pageant needs ID numbers before you're allowed to enter. Are you not jumping to so many conclusions here? And you're almost lucky that this case doesn't have to go ahead because the judge might have thrown it out.
No. Lawyers who speak on radio about what judges think, you can't take them seriously. I'm saying to you, there are facts. One fact is, Home Affairs says there is criminality that happened here. There's a possibility of identity theft and what. That's number one. So whether she knew or not, it's immaterial. But again, John, her allegiance is with Nigerians. Had her allegiance been with South Africans, has she been part of South Africa, should have celebrated with South Africans.
So you're basing this court case on one video where she was celebrating.
With her family. No. It's one of the many things. She would have celebrated her success in contesting Miss South Africa with South Africans. She went to celebrate it with Nigerians. So that's where her allegiance is. What culture is she going to talk about? How is she going to talk about Lobola? What culture is she going to talk about when her allegiance is with Nigerians, when she has been taught Nigerian culture in South Africa? These are facts.
Okay, so as far as the PA is concerned, Kenny Kunene, to enter Miss South Africa, what do you feel should be the criteria? How far back does one look in one's heritage to be a Miss South Africa?
You must be a South African. Your parents must be South African.
Must their grandparents be South African?
You must be a South African. You must understand the culture of South Africans, the different tribes in South Africa, the different cultures in South Africa. You must be a South African.
So if you're born in, so your parents, so let's pretend, I'm going to give you an example because we're doing a lot of speculation here. Parents come from Brazil. Brazilians have moved here. They've given up their Brazilian citizenship. They've become South African citizens. They have a child here who is South African. Can she enter Miss South Africa?
You see, they have come here. They have worked, they have what? Even the children of our former colonizers can be in South Africa. They don't have double passports. They are here with us. They are South Africans.
If somebody has a double passport, a UK and a South African passport,
that's a problem.
Is that a problem?
That's a problem.
But
that's a problem.
They're South African. They're a South African resident. They're a South African. They have an ID.
Even security services, when they vet you, and they find that you've got double passports, they flag you for certain positions in government.
Right.
You are a risk. Why are you having double passports? You are there and here. No.
Are you
going South Africa? In and out. Let's know that you are here. If you want to run away, we can take your passport and you can't leave. You can't use another passport. We want South Africans. We want our own people. We want South Africans to go and be the ambassadors of South Africa.
Are you going to watch Miss South Africa?
You were struggling to pronounce her name. Now, John.
Okay. At least I've said it. Chidima. I want you to say her name. Kenny Kunene. Chidima.
No, John, I can't say that name.
See, I at least tried. I tried. This is the difference. Kenny, are you watching Miss South Africa on Saturday?
No. I'll be busy.
You're not going to watch it? After all of this, you're not going to watch Miss South Africa?
No. I'll be busy, so I will watch the end of it because I'll be in the plane. When I land, it will be halfway. So anyway, I'll be going home, so I'll be able to watch it, the finale of it or half of it. But I always watch Miss South Africa. Let me tell you, John, when I was at high school, I used to do beauty contests in the different towns with my friends. We did them. I did beauty contests at school. The teacher that was responsible would then assign me to help meet with everybody that must participate. So I love contests. I used to do them as a student at high school. So it's not something that I come across now.
Do you feel bad? Do you feel bad, Kenny?
I even did masquerade shows where I actually won. So this is part of. I'm an entertainment person. So yeah.
Do you feel a little bit bad for Chidima? Do you feel that maybe she's a bit of a victim here, and she's got reputational damage? Despite all of this, she entered. She was allowed to enter. Even maybe it's not even her fault. Maybe it's Miss South Africa's fault. Do you feel a little bad for her?
No, I don't feel a little bad for her. I would have felt a little bad for her had she not been arrogant and rude. When South Africans started going public on social media with this outcry, she became arrogant. No one will stop me. I will contest. No one will take this away from me. She became rude and arrogant to South Africans. So there's nothing to be sympathetic about with her. Had she humbled herself and said, I hear your cries, but here's my story, maybe one would feel sympathy for her. But she became arrogant.
Kenny Kunene
and rude.
Kenny Kunene is the Patriotic Alliance Deputy President. Thanks very much for joining us.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. Contestants are taken on a flavor journey and must work in teams to bake a colorful, multi-layered cake inspired by the smooth vibes of a tropical island. Featuring special guest judges Mimi and Holly from Baking with the Rays. That's the Tastemaster Junior. Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
The Olympic medalist, Tatiana Smith, representing South Africa.
Tears of joy will certainly flow for Tatiana Smith.
Smith, silver.
I think this one is much different than any of my races. I'm so fortunate to get a medal.
For the love of the game.
Here he comes. Hello, guys. You're so dramatic. Hey, bro, it's not me. It's the extra styling kit. The leather seats with the red finish. It's the tow bar, all coming standard with my red Isuzu badge. Wow, now that is extra.
Why be standard when you can get the all-new Isuzu D-Max X-Rider from just 8,742 Rand. Prime less 3.5%, 0% deposit, 40% balloon, and 72 months to pay. Get yours today. Finance is subject to approval. Isuzu Finance, a product of Westbank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
SA Schools football comes alive on the 9th and 10th of August 2024 at Sarak Park, Wits University for the SA Schools National Championship from 9 a.m. daily. The best under 15 boys and girls representing their province's school teams will battle it out to try and be selected into the under 15 schools national team. Bring your family and camp chairs to support your provincial under 15 team. If you're not in Gauteng, catch the games on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus. For more details, visit safa.net. SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAfm. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Good news from Joburg. The crash on the R21 near Atlas Road towards the airport, which was backing traffic up, has been cleared to the left shoulder. So all lanes have been reopened there. Truck is overturned. I believe it may have blown over in some strong winds at Van Rielen's Pass. Joburg bound carriageway closed. Contraflow on the Durban bound side. So all traffic using the southbound side to get past that. And that will mean delays both directions. Also, if you're driving out of Durban up to Pietermaritzburg, a big truck is overturned on the right-hand side, just around the Ashburton area. It's in the sort of construction zone area, but at some point they're going to have to get the recovery teams in there, the big heavy tow truck to right that and get it out of the way. So I would think a full closure of the N3 westbound at some point today to safely recover that vehicle. Still a truck crash being attended to just south of Shlishlui, so Shlishlui Matuba. Expect some delays there. Traffic slow both ways. And Cape Town in the rain. The Cape Town.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
I think the rain in Cape Town he was going to talk about is broken Rob. We'll get more from Rob later on.
All right, let's go with this man. Botswana's Letsile Teboho making history at the Paris Olympics, becoming the first African to win the 200 meters men's title. The 21-year-old stormed to victory with an African record of 19.46 seconds, leaving the American Kenny Bednarek with silver and Noah Lyles settling for bronze. Lyles, who entered the race with hopes of completing a sprint double after his 100-meter win, was outpaced by Teboho, who showcased remarkable control and confidence. Teboho's historic win adds him to the ranks of Africa's greatest sprinters, cementing his place in Olympic history. Now, the newly crowned 200-meter champion was asked whether he aspired to be the face of track and field, and he claimed his more laid-back approach wouldn't allow him to get to the Lyles level of fame.
Two questions for Letsile. One, you talked about your coach in the mix zone. Can you just tell us his name? And then two, Usain Bolt was the face of track and field for so long and I think won the 6 gold medals. Is that something you aspire to, world records and being the face of track and field in the future?
His name is Kebonyi Mudisados Musimanyane. And I think for me, I can't be the face of athletics because I'm not an arrogant or a loud person like Noah. So I believe Noah is the face of athletics.
What can I say? Athletics, like any sport, is
there we go. Some boxes are back.
I mean, the competitive spirit is there. What can we say? Now, let's go to South African Football Association President Danny Jordan, saying the renewed 4-year partnership with the SABC will go a long way to impact the coverage of grassroots and women's football.
Once you bring in television, you elevate the status of the match from being a local village match to a national, international match, because then everybody can see the match. And that's where we are heading with Hollywood Bets. And I'm very happy that this take us another leap forward to eventually bring about a fully developed professional league for women's football. And then
elsewhere, Portugal defender Pepe has retired from football. His last game was at Euro 2024, where Portugal were defeated by France on penalties in the quarterfinals. He became the oldest player to appear at a European Championship Finals tournament. He made 141 appearances for his country, winning the Euros in 2016, and spent 10 seasons at Real Madrid, where he won 3 La Liga titles and 3 Champions League trophies, as well as 2 FIFA Club World Cup. Cricket news: in the first test against the West Indies, the Proteas ended day 2 with a 344 for 8. Captain Themba Bavuma leading the charge with 86. Opener Tony de Zorzi 78. Despite a rain-affected start, the Proteas capitalised on the flat pitch. The West Indies did fight back though. Jamal Warrican was the pick of the Windies bowlers, taking 3 wickets, including 2 in the final session. South Africa's innings will resume with Kagiso Rabada and Vian Mulder at the crease, looking to push the total beyond 400 runs. And finally, golf. Warwick Purchaser's first ever win, both as a professional and as an amateur, came in a dramatic fashion at the Glen Vista Country Club. On a tournament total of 7 under par 209, Purchase, Ulrich Vandenberg and Leon Foster were tied for the top spot, necessitating a playoff to decide the victor. Leon Foster, who was looking for his second win in 3 starts, fell off on the first playoff hole after Purchase and Vandenberg, while the latter fell on the second. And that's where we leave it on the golf course. More sport, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Africa Update on SAfm.
South Africa update. We got a little time this morning, so Advocate Sipho Mantula, you can back announce the song.
This is Lucky Dube. God bless a woman, John. Refreshing morning in Jumbo Africa to the listeners. 60 years of Lucky Dube during this month. He was born last week, Saturday, actually, the late Lucky Dube. So it was important, John, as we know today. It's a public holiday, but also known as a National Women's Day. All the commemorations are in Namakwa district in Northern Cape for our listeners at Pofada Stadium in the municipality. That's where at Dennis Nell, actually, stadium. That's where the celebration is under the theme, celebrating 30 years of freedom towards women's development. Bit worried about the theme, John, when we cannot account in the ministries of welfare and social development. When you think of women's grants, children's grants, how they've been managed for the past 30 years, that's something that we should think about deeply when we are celebrating this National Women's Day. But even protection of children at schools also, of what we saw during the week with Pastor Mboro, threatening the lives of children. Those are the challenges that are facing young girl child and the women of this African continent.
All right, let's talk about what else is happening on the continent. The president is in Angola.
He's in Angola. So the deputy president was sworn in as acting, I don't know for how long, 48 hours or 72 hours, because he's in a waiting meeting with the president of Angola, Joao Lorenzo, to engage on mutual interest issues. I saw Minister Lamola is there, our defense minister Njumo Tsaka is there. Obviously, when you think of defense, you will think of DRC will be on the agenda as Angola is mediating on the conflict in Angola. But also they will look around the agenda of the SADC summit that is coming next week in Zimbabwe. So the president with the Minister of International Relations and Defense, they are in Luanda, Angola.
And Nigeria, back on your list again.
It is back, and now there's 6 Polish students and their lecturer who were arrested by the Secret Service of that country for waving the Russian flag during the protest that has been going on. And you'll recall that Nigeria, it is on a protest on high cost of living. The cost of living is too high in Abuja and Lagos. And now you have these 6 foreign students who are arrested for waving the Russian flag during that protest.
Protest in Kenya?
Protest in Kenya, as William Ruto yesterday, the hustler wanted to sworn in some cabinet members. There were demonstrations, and you'll remember that was #Nane demonstration in Kenya. So far, we have 50 people who have died, according to the National Human Rights Commission of Kenya. But yesterday, it was also confrontation in the city. Nothing happened. The public transport, the CBD was not working as normal. It seems that William Ruto is still having challenges with the Z generation in Kenya who wants him to resign. And he's urging them, John, to say, can't you wait for 2027, then you'll vote me out of power.
And you mentioned the DRC earlier. What's happening?
Felix Tshisekedi, he's alleging and accusing his predecessor, the former President Joseph Kabila, for preparing an insurrection. This comes from the report that comes from the U.S. Again, the U.S. intelligence sending wrong buttons saying that it seems Kabila is supporting the movement of Alliance Fleuve Congo that was supporting the M23 also. So Tshisekedi, for the first time, accusing the former President Kabila to be siding with the rebels. Remember, Kabila ruled DRC between 2001 and 2018. He has not yet responded to those accusations coming from Felix Tshisekedi.
And sad news in the world of football. A legend in African football has passed away.
Yeah, I thought I would have touched on it because these are the news that come from France, but the man was born in Cameroon. Issa Hayatou, who was the president of CAF, passed on yesterday. He died at the age of 77. Just the days before his 78th birthday, was born in 1946 in Cameroon, stayed in the Confederation of African Football, CAF, for almost 3 decades. At some point, he was an interim president between 2015 and 2016 of FIFA after Sepp Blatter was suspended for some corruption at FIFA. You will recall, John, with the World Cup and many things. But Issa Hayatou was able to hold that fort. So condolences have been pouring out of Cameroon as well as in the globe for celebrating the life of this giant African football, Issa Hayatou, the former CAF president.
Let's see. In my head, I'm not going to say it out loud. Can I predict what your archive story is today?
You can. And it's not National Women's Day.
Oh!
John?
What happened to the archives?
Our archive is 30 years also of the UN adopting Resolution 2022/214 and recognizing the International Day of the World Indigenous People. Why that day was chosen in 1982, there was a subcommission on the protection on human rights of a working group on indigenous population in 1982. Hence, this day was set aside to remember the indigenous communities, to recall protecting the rights of indigenous people in voluntary isolation and initial contact is the theme for 2024. In South Africa, we'll remember Sarah Bartman, we'll remember Krotoa, we'll remember many indigenous communities that are in Northern Cape, Western Cape, Gauteng, every corner of South Africa. John, we have indigenous people, including Africans. They are indigenous to the land of Africa. Asante Sarah John, this was leading a conversation on this extended Africa update report.
Advocate Sibu Mantula, thanks very much.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, Noma Upumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish, see if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. Contestants are taken on a flavor journey and must work in teams to bake a colorful, multi-layered cake inspired by the smooth vibes of a tropical island. Featuring special guest judges Mimi and Holly from Baking with the Rays. That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
The Olympic medalist, Tatiana Smith, representing South Africa.
Tears of joy will certainly flow for Tatiana Smith.
Smith, silver.
I think this one is much different than any of my races. I'm so fortunate to get a medal.
For the love of the game.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAfm. Leading the conversation.
Yesterday in the show, we got a phone call from the Swartland District municipality about a flood that had happened. 2 dam walls collapsed, flooding communities in the Swartland municipality. Let's find out more about the mop-up operations. We covered that story extensively yesterday. Spokesperson for the West Coast Disaster Management Centre is Heinrich Robertson. Heinrich, horrific scenes we've seen on the telly, we've heard about it. What's the latest happening there?
Good morning, John. Good morning to the listeners. Yeah, not ideal situations in the Swartland municipal area. We knew that there was going to be rain in the air, but it came down quite extensively last night, and we're still sitting with some rain in the area. So it does deter some of the mop-up operations. But so far, so good. The good news last night, which you obviously received, was that the engineers visited the site of the dams and also the surrounding dams in the area, and they made a call that no immediate evacuation of the town of Riverlands was needed. That helped us because obviously then we could only help the immediate affected or those whose houses were destroyed, and they were housed in 2 municipal facilities within the area. But so far, everything is going according to plan. The big trick at the moment is to monitor all the dam levels within the area to make sure that those dam levels remain at a safe level and that it doesn't pose a risk to the community of Riverlands at this stage.
How are you communicating with the residents that might be in danger? Should there be a problem?
Well, they are kept informed through loud-hailing. That is the immediate community. And then if you pop into the Swartland Municipal Facebook page and our WhatsApp channels, it's quite alive with updated information. But those immediately affected, there are a part of the town, luckily, that were not affected because the flow of the water obviously followed a specific direction. So those communities, they remain safe. But those who are in danger, and immediately affected. They are being communicated directly through loud hailing, and we are keeping them informed through community engagements on an hourly basis.
All right, over the weekend, long weekend, is there clean water, essential services, electricity getting back up as fast as you can?
Well, unfortunately, this flood created a lot of damage to the electricity and the water infrastructure. The town is left without potable water. So with the help of Drakensberg municipality, who's our neighboring municipality, and also ourselves, the Swartland municipality and the West Coast district, we are driving potable drinking water in tanks to all affected people on a daily basis. Challenging is now the rain, but we are hoping to restore at least water within the households throughout the weekend. But at present, I think for the next 24 hours, perhaps for the foreseen 48 hours, they will have to depend on us moving water up from elsewhere into town and making sure that they have clean drinking water. The flood was, it was extensive, and I think you've mentioned to the listeners, we initially thought one dam, but it was one dam that toppled into another, and that caused that amount of water and the force of the water coming down in a short space of time, destroying stormwater structures and also water networks within the area. But certainly we will leave no stone unturned to make sure that municipal services get back to that people as soon as possible.
All right, it's a story we'll be following all weekend. Hendrik Robertson, thank you very much, spokesperson for the West Coast Disaster Management Centre.
Winners, finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Tamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
The Miss South Africa 2024 finale will be live on Saturday, the 10th of August at 6 p.m. from the Sunbet Arena, Times Square, Menlyn, Maine. Good evening, Mzansi! Get your tickets for this crowning moment by going to missa.co.za, downloading the official Miss SA app, or purchasing your tickets on ticketpro.co.za. Come and witness it live. SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
Alan Hatherley of South Africa, as he steps up to receive the bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. He is the first South African medal in cycling since 1912. Rudolf Lewis won the individual time trial. Congratulations, Alan Hatherley. Your country is proud of you.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Churchill in the Eastern Cape. Good morning. What do you have to say?
Yes, my brother. Yes, I've been listening to this debate going on, and I'm asking myself, and I think that's what we should be asking ourselves as Africans generally. At this point in time, when we're fighting amongst each other over the borders that were created by our colonial masters, and they're laughing wherever they are, because it all started with the Berlin Conference. That's where we find ourselves now.
So what do we do? What do we do about competitions like Miss SA?
I think when you're debating issues like these, they should bring back on many issues that we should be attending to as Africans. How to make sure that whenever we're addressing issues like this, we think of where we're coming from. Because at the end of the day, we're one people. We're one people. But let's be sensitive, because here's a poor child who might have been disadvantaged by the acts of her mother. You understand what I'm trying to say? But at the end of the day, as Africans in general, we should be going back to say, look, there's a lot that went wrong because of our colonial masters. That's all that I'm saying.
Churchill in the Eastern Cape. Let's go to Willie in Clarksdorp. Morning.
Yes,
John.
Yeah, issue, John, before I get to my point in regard to Kunene.
Generally, you as radio presenters, when we talk about foreign nationals, we as callers, you in general, I'm not saying specifically, you sound protective regarding in favor of what we see the foreign nationals or the foreigners doing to us. That's my point of departure, and we've seen that for a long time. But maybe that's one of your job description at some stage. Even though we've got concrete evidence to say these people are doing this and this and this and this to us, you would say not on a large scale, not what you see, sounding so protective. Let me leave it for now. Now, I'm just saying that shortly. I didn't hear it. The way you questioned Kunene to the level of now pronunciation, you see, deviating slightly from the point. You see, we told you from last week that we are smelling the red. We told Casey, we told us, that we are smelling the red in as far as this PJ, this Miss South Africa is concerned. According to what we hear and according to what we see, that there should be something wrong with our Home Affairs Department. There's a lot of corruption, porous borders, you name it now. That came the result to say identity theft, fraudulent activity from Home Affairs. So Home Affairs Minister is giving us the concrete issues. And then lastly, these Nigerians, I'm specific now, these Nigerians, they are boastfully saying that this pageant is theirs, of which, what is that? It's theirs, boasting to us. So it's clear that the girl belongs to another country, not in our country, following the results, John, from the Home Affairs. Right. Now, why should we debate further and further? And my last point to say, do we sympathize with the girl? Yes. No, we don't. Even the Bible says, I'm going to punish the parents.
All right.
I mean, the children.
Willie
On
Clarkstop.
behalf of the parents.
Willie Clarkstop, thank you very much. I think we've got time for one more. Moses in Bramley, morning.
Morning, how are you, John?
Lekker, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm John. I think that Kenny has a point with this lady. That how can you celebrate almost everything with people of Nigeria? You don't celebrate with us as a compatriot. So, there's a problem in this country, John. Since this dawn of democracy, there are a lot of foreigners who are having our South African IDs. So our Home Affairs is a problem. They are corrupt to the core. So we need to root out this corruption because as we speak, people are still buying IDs. You and I speaking like this. Their IDs are being prepared. Some are stealing the identity of our dead brothers and dead sisters. We are definitely a corrupt country. And I think we were better off being under apartheid because we could toe the lines. And those who lead us back then, they loved this country. They didn't want the porous border. They didn't want anyone whom we don't actually know their identity to roam our street. You go to Joburg, it's rotten, John. You look at everything, it's deteriorating in this country, and we are still saying we've got a government. We've got people who are there to eat the money.
All right,
And
Moses.
they are being so irresponsible with everything.
Moses in Bramley with his views. What do you think of his views and all the others as well? Give us a call, 086 000 2032. We'll take some WhatsApp voice notes as well. Sorry, I've avoided the two WhatsApp voice notes we've got. One was on the gender pay gap, which I was going to play. Also, there's one on Kenny Kunene's court application. We'll play those after the news at 8.
Top stories for this hour. DA welcomes the extradition of Cholota from the US, and the US, Egypt and Qatar call for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Good morning, I'm Eva Chipa. The DA in the Free State says the extradition from the US of the former personal assistant to the then Free State Premier Ace Magashule will help the NPA in their quest for justice. Moradi Cholota was initially mentioned by the prosecution in the 255 million rand asbestos roof removal case as a key witness, but she later backtracked and was then added as one of the accused. Cholota has been studying in the US. Free State DA MPL David van Vuren.
The DA in the Free State welcomes the extradition of the personal assistant of Ace Magashule. This will hopefully strengthen the hand of the NPA and ensure that justice will be done in the asbestos case.
Town and Regional Planning Professor at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Hope Magidimisha Chipungu, has raised concerns over the City of Cape Town's flood preparedness and emergency protocols. This after two retention dams in the Swartland area near Malmesbury burst yesterday, leaving thousands of residents homeless. Magidimisha Chipungu says a live monitoring system of the dams needs to be implemented in order to foresee and prevent incidents like this from happening.
If you are monitoring the rainfalls, right, you will know that now the dam is about to get full because you know the capacity of the rain and the capacity of the dam that you have. You then have to activate what we call the emergency plan, right? So if the dam is getting full, what strategies do you have in plan to make sure that people are not affected? That speaks with your continuous management and also your awareness within the area. So people who stay around that areas, do they know what to do when the dam get flooded? Where do they go? Who do they talk to? Where do they run to?
CEO and Senior Attorney of Loxton Forensics, David Loxton, has labelled the withdrawal of former Miss SA contestant Chidima Adicina from the pageant as unfortunate. Just days before the Miss SA finale, Adicina took to Instagram to announce her withdrawal from the competition, citing safety concerns and the well-being of her family as the reason. Her withdrawal comes after the Department of Home Affairs indicated that preliminary investigations into her citizenship revealed that her mother allegedly committed fraud and identity theft. Loxton says Adicina's case highlights the repercussions of identity theft.
The whole saga is intensely unfortunate for the individual concerned, and I'm talking about the former South Africa finalist. But it's a very big case study, isn't it, of what an extreme case of identity theft and the consequences, because you got many years ago someone allegedly stealing someone else's identity number and then crafting a citizenship and residency around that. And now we see the consequences where her daughter is called out as not being South African. And that's got disastrous consequences for the individual concerned.
In other news, some women in Pofadder in the Northern Cape say unemployment and the lack of women empowerment remains their biggest challenges this Women's Month. As the country marks Women's Day, they are hoping that their pleas for jobs will be heard. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to officiate this year's Women's Day commemorations in Pofadder. The day marks 68 years since some 20,000 women marched against the oppressive pass laws. However, some women in Pofadder believe they are now fighting a new struggle of unemployment despite the town being next to mines.
All the men is getting work, but the woman does not get work. So why can't we work at the mining? Why? I just want that answer.
I hope for matrics, when they finish the school, they must go there and help them with bursaries.
They must empower more women, and it's very important for us to be empowered.
Looking at news on the continent, the Africa Centre for Disease Control and Prevention says it will soon declare the Mpox outbreak a public health emergency. The agency's director said he was alarmed by infection rates that have risen by 160% on the continent in the past year. The BBC's Richard Kagoe has more.
The Africa CDC plans to hold talks with the Africa Union and the Africa Union Commission to strengthen the response to the outbreak. Jean Kesser, the agency director, says that once approved, countries will be required to notify the agency of any outbreaks within their borders. This would assist in mobilizing resources and accelerating vaccine research and development. 16 countries including Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda and Kenya, who were previously not affected, have detected the virus.
And lastly, the US, Egypt and Qatar have issued a joint statement calling on Israel and Hamas to resume negotiations over ceasefire and hostage deal release in Gaza. Israel has agreed to attend the proposed talks in Doha or Cairo. However, Hamas has not responded while efforts to bring the two sides to the negotiation table continue. Hani Al-Madoun, who is from Gaza and works for the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, says he's not optimistic about ceasefire talks.
My heart tells me, I should always be optimistic. I just find this a challenge. I'll believe it when I see it. There's been a lot of talk since April about a serious push for a ceasefire. It's not very complicated, but it seems that there is a lack of political will. Unfortunately, every day passes, every hour passes, more Palestinians are either dead by the bomb or dead by starvation. And that's the reality we see in Gaza every day.
Recapping the top story at 8, the DA in the Free State says the extradition from the US of the former personal assistant to then Free State Premier Ace Magashule will help the NPA in their quest for justice. For SAfm News, I'm Eva Chipa.
A very good morning to you in your SAfm sports headlines. Plenty to look forward to. South Africans in action. It will be the men's 4x400 meter relay team. They'll be gearing up for the heats at around 4 minutes past 11. That's this morning. And another busy day in golf. Ashley Buhai continuing her impressive run in golf, starting round 3 at 3 under. All this and more at around 8:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. A couple of issues on the roads. One is truck crash at Van Rennens Pass. Now, the truck is overturned, I understand, in high winds. It is blocking the Joburg-bound carriageway, so the northbound carriageway is blocked, and you've got a contraflow on the southbound side. So just expect some delays. And, of course, there's reasonably high volumes with the long weekend, particularly on the southbound heading through to Durban. Just over 1,000 vehicles an hour through the Hawke's Plaza a little while ago. That's very busy for a Friday morning. Also, motorists driving out of Durban through to Pietermaritzburg, expect some disruption today. Another truck is overturned just in the construction zone at Ashburton on the right-hand side, but at some point they're going to have to recover that truck, and that'll see some lane closures and possibly full road closure going in. So at some point, if you're on your way through to towards the Ashburton area, just watch for that. Breakdown at Key Ridge causing some delays through the roadworks. Again, the bigger volumes there not helping. And a truck crash just south of Schlishlui. If you're moving between Schlishlui and Matuba, delays both ways. And if you've got any business in the Cape Town Central CBD area today, just keep in mind there's plenty of road closures in and going in around the central area for today's Total Sports women's race. It will cause some delays. It already is around Strand Street and Kaiserhoek Darling Street. If you like that part of the CBD, all lanes and road closures should be reopened late morning by about 11 a.m. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Getting ahead of the morning with hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
It's 8 minutes past 8 into the final hour of SAfm Breakfast. I'm John Gericke. Good morning to you. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Action SA. They say they are holding Parliament and the Department of Home Affairs and law enforcement agencies accountable to ensure the strict and uncompromising enforcement of our immigration laws. We'll find out how they're going to do that in a little moment. And in our Science and Innovation segment, Ireland setting up a new bill to make social media companies pay for social media harm. We'll find how they're going to balance that with free speech. And later on, we'll have a little business story about Hewlett's and how the levies that they were supposed to pay to the Sugar Association of South Africa for small farmers has been, they've been granted leave to not pay that. We'll find out why. And then we'll continue our conversation about Chidima Adesina. We'll talk to a reputation expert. What does Chidima do now? How does she rescue her reputation? Let's go to those voice notes I promised you on 061 Correction, let's start again. 0614 104 107. Earlier we were talking about the gender pay gap on Women's Day.
Morning, John. Just on the pay equity between men and women, your guest brought up the soccer example between the men's and ladies' soccer. But obviously the difference is that the men's soccer brings in a lot more money, more advertising, because there's more eyes on the men's game. So that's just the reality, and I guess that goes into the equation. Thanks, Andrew.
Good morning, John. John, you're going to speak to Kenny Kunen. Please tell Kenny Kunen he mustn't think that the lady pulled out because of the court case. No. the lady was advised to pull out because her life seemed to be in danger because the whole South African hate her. And the best thing she's supposed to do, just to pull out. Because according to the law, the Home Affairs didn't revoke his ID yet. That man, according to the document, she's still a South African citizen. So even if Kenny Kunene did go to court, the court will don't say anything because the lady is still a South African citizen as far as the law concerned. Thank you.
And let's go to Marsha in Sekhukhune. Hello, Marsha.
Yes, how are you, John?
Lekker, go ahead.
Two sides of the story, sir. Look, although can we be raising issues of national security or any other thing, but it sounds more to be Afrophobic. Firstly, he refuses to pronounce a name. You know, it's an insult, John, not to pronounce my name, not to refer to me by my name. It's an insult and unlawful, really. But also, John, the problem with Ken is one, without his allegiance to South Africa himself. Ken has been going around here with girls in the sushi parties. We don't know whose nationalities are those girls and everyone. And it seems to be
they're not. You see, it was brought up a couple of times. They're not representing South Africa. So
correctly so.
Play
the
the ball, not the man.
Yeah, but also the black society you see here in our streets are bearing the South African flags. They don't represent South Africa. It's a problem. Who represents South Africa officially? That is not our official or constitutional institution. It's a social thing. I don't represent South Africa myself, but I bear a South African identity number. You see? So it's not an official event. That woman is not going to be our first lady. It's not going to be anything. It's not going to be our president.
Oh, I see. All right,
it's not going to be our parliamentarian. It's an event that is run by a third company, and therefore, and the woman, actually, her identity, it's a hearsay.
Right.
She did not give herself the name. She did not give herself the identity number. She did not give herself anything. She did not bring herself here. And now she's a victim because Kenny Kune's got an issue with Nigerians in particular and Africans in general. It's a problem.
Masha?
Let's go. No. Let's go and check.
Quickly, Masha.
Who else is Kenny going to be after? He cannot be after white people. He cannot be after people that he benefits from. We've got a problem I've got a problem with that man in particular myself.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Marshu, thank you very much. We're going to talk about that subject in a second.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
South Africa 26, Australia 19. The bronze medal for South Africa from Paris 2024.
Olympic medal is very, very special, and sometimes you only realize it a year or two afterwards. I'm really grateful for our players that they could call themselves Olympic medalists.
For the love of the game. The Miss South Africa 2024 finale will be live on Saturday, the 10th of August at 6 p.m. from the Sunbet Arena, Times Square, Menlyn, Maine. Good evening, Mzansi! Get your tickets for this crowning moment by going to missa.co.za, downloading the official Miss SA app, or purchasing your tickets on ticketpro.co.za. Come and witness it live. SA Schools football comes alive on the 9th and 10th of August 2024 at Sarah Park, Wits University for the SA Schools National Championship from 9 a.m. daily. The best under-15 boys and girls representing their province's school teams will battle it out to try and be selected into the under-15 schools national team. Bring your family and camp chairs to support your provincial under-15 team. If you're not in Gauteng, catch the games on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus. For more details, visit safa.net. SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAfm is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAfm and SMS the keyword SAfm88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAfm, let's talk.
16 minutes past 8 o'clock. Let's talk to Lerato Ngumeni, Action SA's Parliamentary Chief Whip. Why? Action SA demanding a comprehensive citizenship audit in South Africa. I think we kind of know the reason why. Let's find out how. Lerato, good morning to you. How is a comprehensive citizenship audit going to happen?
Good morning, John, and thank you so much for having us on your show. First of all, there are permits and asylum applications that have been in the system for a while. We believe actually between the years 2003 and 2016. We believe that those papers need to be checked. They need to be re-verified. People need to be found as to where they are. For example, we've seen documentation that really does not look authentic, but it is allowed to proceed. We've also conducted raids. I remember when Chief David Tembe was the MMC and also the Chief of Police, conducted raids in the city of Johannesburg and found that there were these dens that were supplying citizenship documentations, IDs, passports, etc. And those raids happen, but then the syndicates go back again after the raids have happened. And so there is a lot that needs to be done. We know that this is a mammoth task, but it's got to start somewhere. And so we are in our teams currently doing investigations as to how, best practice has happened in the past. But we're calling on the Department of Home Affairs to also begin to have task teams that are going to consider how this can be done, especially to the degree that South Africa is now having this issue. And it's unfortunate that it has been brought into sharper focus as a result of the participation of Chidima Argentina into the Miss SA competition.
Yeah, I think the reason why we understand, and that spotlight is still very much focused, the issue is how. Let's say there are 60 million South Africans or people in South Africa, be they South Africans or not. How would you imagine we go about getting this audit? Everybody has to go in with all the birth certificates?
Yeah, we believe that you can do it in a staggered approach in the same way that we conduct a census. Census is a mammoth undertaking. Yeah. And so everybody is able to do that. In fact, it would be a widespread thing. Now, audits, for example, if you conduct an audit such as a skills audit, 9 times out of 10, what you do is you are able to weed out almost naturally those who know that they've done things under bogus circumstances. And we are hoping that, it will scare those who have done this illegality, and hope that it will expose the illegality that has happened. For example, when SARS, for example, goes to conduct their audits with regards to our people who are, in practice, for example, when we were in the Eastern Cape, there is a syndicate that is running construction materials businesses adjacent to licensed businesses that are here in South Africa that are also SABS approved. And we learned that when there are officials who are able to inform these folks when the SARS is coming, and literally we were informed that the business is closed as if there was never anything there. And as soon as SARS passes through, business goes on as usual. And so it is our hope and our belief that South Africa has got to start somewhere. We can't say that we are in this mess and it's now a mammoth task. It can't be done. It definitely can be done. And we need to look around the world for best practice. And we also just need to declare this issue a huge matter of national concern. You've seen that in Mpumalanga we've got that military base. The question is, how many of those are in existence?
We discussed that yesterday. We know that Home Affairs has issues. They're busy digitizing at the moment. They say they're doing good work. Things seems to have sped up, but there are issues there. The ZEP, for example, was a very slow process. This could take decades.
Look, it has taken decades, John, for us to get to where we are. There's a sense in which, the depth of your salvation shall equal the depth of the mess from which you come. So we have got, as South Africa begin, we can do a staggered approach. It can start from one province to the next province, ward to ward. It will take a number of years, but maybe it doesn't have to take a number of years. What is the alternative, Sean? Are we supposed to just leave things as they are?
No, I'm not disagreeing. We're not just. You see, let's not move away from that. We agree that the alternative is a bad thing. We agree that there shouldn't be illegal foreigners in South Africa. We agree on many things. The challenge is more about the process of a comprehensive citizenship audit.
As I said,
I as a free South African have an issue with that. That you are questioning whether I am a South African or not.
No, we are not questioning that whether South Africans are South Africans or not. The first thing that we have said is that, for example, I started with the fact that there are asylum permits and visa applications. There's already been a task team, as I said in my statement yesterday. There's already been a ministerial task team that was tasked with, reviewing the issuance of permits and visas, and there was found that there were over almost 40,000 fraudulent permits and visas that were detected. And so what we're saying is that the same process should proceed. Start with those almost 40,000 fraudulent permits and visas that are detected. Start with those and proceed as we move along.
Okay.
And so what we're saying is that the process has got to begin somewhere. And once South Africans and everybody else realizes that we are busy doing this work, that Home Affairs is doing this work, hopefully some of them will self-regulate, self-clean, and come clean. And so that is what we are calling for. And we also need, public participation in this matter. And I think South Africans are ready, for us to be honest. I don't think that South Africans are hateful people. We don't want people in our country. We definitely do. And I think this issue is more about illegality. And I think that we should all be very sad that this young woman has had to go through the vitriol that she has gone through, purely because now it seems that she may be, a beneficiary of proceeds of crime, which should not be. And we are saying that, we need for this not to reoccur and for people not to be victimized in this way. And you know that this issue is prevalent in most parts of the world, including the U.S., for example. They call them the dreamers, children of undocumented foreign nationals who are born in a nation, and so they become stateless. And that is a very serious issue that the government needs to try to remedy.
Lerato Ngubeni is Action SA's Parliamentary Chief Whip. What do you make of that? Give us a call, 086 000 2032.
TV licenses have developed a new GIS-linked national address database to ensure that we can communicate with all our valued license holders. We now have a visual of all licensed and unlicensed households nationwide in order to effectively communicate with you. We remind you to take note of our payment reminders and avoid paying penalties due to non-compliance or choosing to ignore your legal obligation to pay your license fees. We can communicate with all our license holders through cost-effective electronic methods, enabling us to collect license fees and continue to support the national broadcaster, the SABC, in accordance with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act No. 4 of 1999 as amended. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
Alan Hatherley of South Africa, as he steps up to receive the bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. He is the first South African medal in cycling since 1912. Rudolf Lewis won the individual time trial. Congratulations, Alan Hatherley. Your country is proud of you.
For the love of the game.
The Science of Life on SAfm.
it's related. Ireland is setting up a new bill to make social media companies pay for social media harm. The new media regulators outlined a new code of conduct to address cyberbullying and put pressure on the social media platforms to act swiftly when it comes to reports of harmful social media content. Lerato Ntwampe is attorney and social media legal consultant. Lerato, good morning to you. The big issue with this is the concerns about freedom of speech, that difficult things to read and hear might be blocked or seen as hate speech.
Good morning, John. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I think you do make a valid point, but I think we also need to remember that freedom of expression is not an absolute right. As much as we do have that freedom to obviously express ourselves, we are limited to certain things, and the parameters need to be respected. And I think in a culture of disinformation and a culture of cyberbullying and a culture of lawlessness online, I think a bill like this is very necessary.
The definitions are important then, right? What defines cyberbullying? What defines hate speech?
So, it depends on how you look at it. So, obviously, cyberbullying is the repeated harmful harm. So, it's just a repeated action of you harming somebody and obviously ensuring that you suppress them and you ensuring that they feel a harm, whether the harm is psychological, emotional, physical. And in most instances, it does become physical where somebody then wants to hit you. And then, obviously, when we speak about hate speech, we speak about the hatred towards a specific group and ethnicity, and as well as minority groups such as your LGBTQI communities, as well as hatred towards women. So we also see that in terms of cyber misogyny.
How important? The important thing here is that the social media platforms themselves will see some sort of issues here, because I've reported issues where people attack me, and I'm just a tiny little. I'm not even close to a celebrity. I'm just an oak what does the radio show, and I report it, and I get the report back to say that it's fine, that they can continue doing that kind of thing. How important will this be in making sure that the platforms follow through?
Yeah, so this is quite important. I think Ireland is one of the first countries to actually have an independent complaints mechanism in terms of this online safety and media regulation. And it basically forces social media companies to actually be more responsive. As you've mentioned, the report function of these social media companies, as well as content moderation, becomes a problem. The response is often very poor. It's the time frame that these issues are obviously addressed is also very poor, and obviously also the quality of the response is very poor. So a bill like this, an act like this, will ensure that social media companies actually employ more content moderators. So content moderators are the people who actually sit and filter through some of the content that is deemed either illegal or harmful, as they've actually mentioned in their policies. So this certain bill is going to ensure that they obviously adhere to their own policies and that they hire more people. And obviously it will also be a watchdog, because it will assist the social media policies in terms of, people who live in Ireland will be able to report to these independent complaint mechanism. And hopefully there will then be somebody who's deployed specifically to deal with complaints from the independent complaint mechanism, and also the commissioner. So what Ireland has also done is that they also have appointed an online safety commissioner who is actually then designated to these online services for them to be able to account and to remove content that is illegal, and obviously diligently also apply the rules about acceptable and non-acceptable conduct.
Ireland could well set a precedent here for other nations to look at. And while we're talking about international, these companies are international. So do they fall under Irish law?
Absolutely. So they form under the European Union. So
Okay.
some of the countries that form are part of the European Union are then sort of like protected in terms of the data protections there. They ensure that obviously these social media companies are held responsible, that fines are actually also held. We've seen it in cases of data protection and privacy where Meta has been sued in certain instances and they've had to pay a significant fine. Google, in some instances, has also been sued for them to also obviously adhere to these rules. I think it is, it's trickling down, but there is obviously always a disconnect between the law and technology, given the pace at which each develops. So sometimes it's constantly us lawyers trying to keep up, and obviously enforcers and the government and policy makers often trying to keep up with how technology is evolving. I mean, this bill, this act was actually enacted in 2022, but then there was no consideration of AI, which is now becoming such a big thing, and how people are actually now using AI to spew hate and to spew disinformation, and also to try and obviously try and sort of hijack some of these laws in how they obviously conduct themselves. So we often always trying to catch up with technology.
Lerato Ntwampe, thank you very much. Admitted attorney and social media legal consultant. Thank you very much. My big worry with all of this is, do we then have in this organization, and we'll talk about this, and you're welcome to give me a call as well, is there now a big brother who is watching over our social media content, things we want to say? Is it now a big brother who is saying this is what you can and can't say because somebody's feelings are hurt? Or is this the right way to go? Let me know what you think. 086 000 2032.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. There are some delays around today. Just having a look at Joburg's M2 eastbound. If you're leaving Joburg on your way out towards the Germiston area, there are some queues. You're going to be asked to sit in some traffic just approaching the Denver off-ramp. So factor some queue time there, particularly if you're out towards the airport. Truck is overturned on Van Rynen's Pass. The Joburg-bound carriageway is completely obstructed both ways on the southbound side, flowing under contraflow conditions. So expect some delays there. Pretty high volumes for a Friday, being a long weekend as well. There are some queues just approaching Pietermaritzburg between Maryvale and Hilton. I believe that may be a breakdown in some construction there as well. And a truck overturning on the N3 Pietermaritzburg bound at Ashburton, not causing any obstruction yet, but when they recover that, it'll probably be a full closure of that N3 West. So expect some delays at some point today on your way towards PMB. Truck crash just south of Schluie. If you're moving between Matuba and Schluie, there's some quite heavy backlogs on that section of the N2. And Cape Town, if you're going into the CBD central area, there are plenty of road closures for today's Total Sports women's race event through the city centre, out through Boerkup and sort of back through District 6 and parts of Woodstock. All roads should be reopened by 11 a.m. this morning. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Interesting South African sports everywhere today.
The finest athletes
Yes.
from South Africa are in action at the Paris Olympics. Paul Loretto, Ashley Buhai, Marianne Fourie, 100-meter hurdles, Julia Vincent in diving. Let's break it for you. We've got round 3 at the golf this morning. Day 15, Paul Loretto is at... she's +7, while Ashley Buhai looks to continue her impressive form at 3 under. On the track, our men's 4x400-meter relay team, they're in the heats at 4 minutes past 11, followed closely by the men's kayak double 500-meter semi-finals. Hamish Lovemore and Andy Burkett at 10 past 11. Edmund Duplessis will compete in the men's 800-meter semi-finals, and Marianne Fourie set to sprint in the women's 100-meter hurdles semi-final. And at 3 p.m, all eyes will be on Julia Vincent in the women's 3-meter springboard final, hoping to bring home a medal. So you can stay tuned for all the excitement as we cheer Team South Africa, brought to you by SABC Sport. Athletics now, let's go to Botswana's Letsile Tebogo. He claimed that surprise Olympic 200-meter gold as Noah Lyles was denied a sprint double at Paris 2024. The 21-year-old Tebogo stormed clear of his rivals to clock an African record of 19.46 seconds and finish ahead of the American Kenneth Bednarek, who crossed the line in 19.62. In the meantime, Kenya's Faith Kipyegon stayed firmly on course for an unprecedented hat-trick of Olympic 1,500-meter titles. She cruised through the semi-final almost in third gear yesterday. And swimming, Netherlands Iron woman Sharon van Rooyendaal claimed her second Olympic women's 10-kilometer marathon swimming gold. She snatched victory from her Australian friend and training partner Moesha Johnson in the River Seine yesterday. Ginevra Tediucci won the bronze for Italy. And hockey, 8-time champions India, they came from behind to collect their 13th men's Olympic medal with a 2-1 win over Spain in the bronze medal match yesterday. And let's go closer to home, where the South African Football Association president Danny Jordan says the renewed 4-year partnership with the SABC will go a long way to impacting the coverage of grassroots and women's football. Jordan also spoke about the importance of this funding model in sustaining the accessibility of football and the development of the local game in preparation for the international stage.
The other thing is that FIFA has now announced that when it comes to under 17 and under 20 World Cup, they want an under 17, under 20 World Cup every year. And that means that we have to enter the competition from COSAFA to CAF to eventually qualify for the under 7, under 20 World Cup. We've already started with the under 15 girls team. We have an under 17 team, under 20 team, but the under 15 team is the starting block to build under 17, under 20. And some of the most talented, skillful young players, girls, are there in the under 15 team. It's an amazing team, and I am sure that by it comes to under 17, they will be ready to qualify.
And that's where we'll leave it for now. More sport with John Henniker on 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last 4. This is the MTN 8 quarter-final. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. The Miss South Africa 2024 finale will be live on Saturday, the 10th of August at 6 p.m. from the Sunbet Arena, Times Square, Menlyn, Maine. Good evening, Mzansi! Get your tickets for this crowning moment by going to misssa.co.za, downloading the official Miss SA app, or purchasing your tickets on ticketpro.co.za. Come and witness it live. SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
South Africa 26, Australia 19. The bronze medal for South Africa from Paris 2024.
Olympic medal is very, very special, and sometimes you only realize it a year or two afterwards. I'm really grateful for our players that they could call themselves Olympic medalists.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to SAfm Breakfast.
Business rescue practitioners from Hewlett have been granted leave to appeal for a 526 million rand levy dispute with the Sugar Association of South Africa to the Supreme Court of Appeal. Find out what all of this means with Dr. Kobus Loubser, agricultural economist. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. What is this levy that Hewlett would have had to have paid?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I think the legal battle, I think that we fought differently, and the purpose of this discussion this morning is not necessarily to attend to that. Hopefully, I can sort it out because of the importance of the levy for the sugar cane growers. One forget that we have about more than 25,000 sugar cane growers in the country. of which 24,000 are what they call small-scale growers, and they're highly dependable on the levy. It's a statutory levy, that comes their way from the sugar. Now they face a lot of challenges, as in terms of the sustainability of small-scale production, and the market that are changing. Demand is differentiating, and there's a lot of challenges for them, and they're highly dependent on this levy, on the money that will flow from the Sugar Association to the growers per se. So hopefully that the legal battle will soon be solved, because these guys are in a need and of assistance. That's a livelihood. If you take in terms of the multiplier effect of the levy in terms of the support, it's estimated about 1 million people benefit from the what come out of the economy of sugarcane production in that part of the country. So it's of immense importance that it be solved, and it's a very important part of the rural economy of that part of the country.
If Hewlett shuts down and the business rescue people say, well, we just don't have the money to pay these levies, will those 24,000 that are relying so heavily on this just be out of business and that land will just disappear?
I wouldn't say that, but it will definitely impact in terms of the restructuring, the much needed restructuring of the sugarcane industry. We know that we're liable for taxes paid on sugar consumption, and there's a lot of new market prospects, but it needs diversification in terms of on the ground. There's a lot of productivity enhancement that's needed in terms of the technology used, in terms of water, etc. They suffered quite substantially recently with load shedding, the flood, stuff like that. It was really disruptive. So the money that will flow needs now, I would say, to be leveraged. But it's very important. Recently, the new minister announced specific, aid to small sugar growers. And that's very important, because if we have sustainable and profitable small-scale farmers, that's, in my opinion, the cheapest way, to instigate rural development. So if you take that away in terms of you reduce the numbers of these guys in terms of producing, and many of them produce for sugar maybe on the same basis for decades, through different generations. So that needs to be attended to. And then, very importantly, there's a lot of new diversification needed, to enhance sustainability on the ground. So I think the new emphasis on small scale farmers, it's important. And I think with the levy properly managed, that will leverage that intent from government. In my opinion, the money spent on agriculture should be in a way that if we have progressive, developed farmers and they are sustainable and profitable, that creates what I call a suction power, and sucking in the guys and encouraging the smaller guys to become more productive, more efficient. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I like I'm really much in favor of what the new minister said. It will be targeted. It will be monitored in terms of they follow the money. That we service the initial strategic intent of the money spent. And all in all, I think that money that's now needed will enable that vision of the government, because that's an imperative for rural development. Not just for the sugar cane growers, but all over South Africa. We need more success stories in terms of upliftment.
Dr. Kobus Loubser is an agricultural economist. Tongaat and BRP now have 1 calendar month to deliver their notice of appeal to the SCA. So this is an ongoing process.
Keeping you informed and ready for the day ahead on #SAfm BreakFast.
All right, last time for this show, this conversation is not going away. Chidima Adachina released a statement. She's withdrawing from the Miss SA pageant ahead of the finale this weekend. She outlined in her statement the withdrawal was for the safety and well-being of her family. Media scrutiny, government investigations, and her citizenship. There's been the social media. What reputation damage has she gone through? Kenny Kunene, when I asked him if he feels sorry for her, said no. Let's find out what a Managing Director of Reputation First has to say about all of this. Tshepo Matseba is Managing Director of Reputation First. Tshepo, good morning to you. Thanks very much. Is her career as a pageant entrant or a model over now?
In South Africa is very, very forgiving. And we've seen this. There was another person with similar character. But here we have the critical matter here is that there is no truth in the story. We allow someone as a country to come in a country with their parents. Maybe they are wrong, maybe they're right. But there's something that doesn't smell right. And the father's interview sold everything out.
If we can, Tshepo, I want to focus on the reputational issue here that she now has to either overcome or not overcome. I think the facts or the non-facts, whatever they might be, the facts of the story are out there. How does she navigate this now? She pulled out, rightly or wrongly, one could say. Was that the right thing to do from her perspective, or should she try and hold her head up high at the competition?
Look, I don't know whether it's the right thing to do for her to pull out or stay in the competition. But the truth is that she's being questioned. And the questions are becoming more and more. And it is better for someone to say, I think we lied, or I think I don't have the facts. Mm-hmm. And somebody else has the facts. Maybe it's my mother. And whatever else. But the truth is, we don't know what happened.
Okay. I'm trying to focus on her reputation. So as the MD of Reputation First, what would you tell her to do today?
Oh, no. You just tell the truth the first time.
Right at the beginning?
The first time. When you find out that you know that your parents lied, you tell the truth. Even the company that she was working with, Miss South Africa, should have told the truth the first time. Before somebody else works on a minister, comes up as if it's an expose, because it's not an expose, by the way, because if the facts are straight, we know that there's something else. Yeah.
Tshepo, what can other public figures learn from this experience regarding the reputational crisis and this media scrutiny?
Look, just tell the truth the first time, and try not to come up with stories that doesn't exist. What happened on this specific story, we all don't know. We allow the process to be investigated, and then we allow the truth to come out. But the facts are coming out slowly. For me, in a reputation sense, I would have said to her, tell the truth the first time. If you can't tell the truth, at least at a minimum, just tell what you know. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tshepo Matseba is the Managing Director of Reputation First. Thanks very much.
Witness the global battle of great athletes from South Africa and from all over the world in the Olympic Games Paris 2024. From the heart-pounding races on the track to the graceful routines on the gymnastics floor, each event promises to deliver moments of sheer brilliance and sporting excellence. Live the intense rivalries, inspiring comebacks and record-breaking performances right here across all SABC TV channels, SABC radio stations, on the move with SABC Plus or online on sabcsport.com. # the global battle of great athletes. The Olympic Games Paris 2024. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak, and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
The Olympic medalist, Tatiana Smith, representing South Africa.
Tears of joy will certainly flow for Tatiana Smith.
Smith, silver.
I think this one is much different than any of my races. I'm so fortunate to get a medal.
For the love of the game.
SAfm is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAfm and SMS the keyword SAfm88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. Call us on 086 000 2032.
We're going to play Where is Kathy after 9 o'clock. It's going to be a game because where was she yesterday at the Wanderers? She was at the Wanderers yesterday. So today your challenge is Where is Kathy? I'm sure she'll tell you, but we'll find out. Let's go to calls to finish off the program. 086 000 2032. Joseph in Germiston, morning.
Morning, John.
Go ahead, quickly. We're running out of time.
Look, John, I just, first of all, I want to take time out to thank the Patriotic Alliance for actually taking a real stand when there was actually an outcry where the South Africans were actually seeking answers in as far as this Chadima issue is concerned. Second to that, John, I just want to say to you that I'm actually really disappointed at you, for one. I mean, you go ahead and you ask Kenny as to whether or not he's sympathetic to Chadima, but the same question has never actually been asked by the regarding the same woman whose Chadima's mother has actually taken her identity.
I haven't spoken to the mother.
You haven't.
I haven't spoken to the mother. I was talking to Kenny Kunene about one specific task, so that's why I asked the question.
But it's not only you, John. It's not only you. In every platform, I have never even heard any one of you, radio personnel or media personnel for that matter, actually ask as to how that woman, for one, is actually feeling, how, for one, that woman's life has actually been charged by the very fact that her identity has actually been...
I agree with you completely. You try and live life without an ID document. It's not impossible.
I'm saying to you, please try to be balanced in your conduct, because I do agree, and this actually backs what your caller has once said, that you seem to now be leaning in the side of illegal foreigners who are actually doing this. Third to that, I would say to you that this whole issue of this woman has actually pointed out the level of the rot that is actually existing, that is in our home affairs. And I'm of the view really that the police and so forth must actually take a stand and make sure that, because this is just one incident, but I can tell you that there are so many incidents out there of South Africans whose identity have actually been stolen, whose lives have actually been touched by this kind of a crime that is actually existing in our country.
We hear a lot of those stories, Joseph. I agree with you completely. Edward in Carltonville, hi.
Morning, John. How are you?
Lekker, go ahead quickly.
Good. John, I have questions regarding Miss S.A.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are quick to say, yes, she's a foreigner and all that. But she was born in South Africa, in Bara, in fact. Isn't it, John?
Yes.
And she attended school here in South Africa.
Yes.
So all her life, she has spent 23 years in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why don't we go back and question their mother and arrest their mother? Why should it go down to this girl who was born in South Africa, who has lived their whole life in South Africa? Now, are we saying she must go to Nigeria or Mozambique to start?
Kenny Kunene said yes, she must.
But now that's really unfair, because it's a birthright she was born here, irrespective of the circumstances. The people who must be punished are the guys from Home Affairs and her parents.
Edward, I need to move on. I think you've made your point. It's why is Chidima being punished and not everybody else?
No, not that everybody else is not punished, but it's wrong for her to be punished, because she didn't choose for her parents to go and commit crime, and she didn't choose to be born in South Africa.
Edward in Carltonville. Let's go to Mbuyisa in Pietermaritzburg.
John, how are you?
Lekker, quickly.
I'm fine, yes. You know what? I've got just two aspects in a minute. You know what? There's something said that happened in South Africa with two ladies. You know this Chadima. I don't know what we want, South Africans. The lady was disqualified. In fact, she withdrew. We are fine. I'm fine with it. She withdrew. And now the preliminary reports prove that there was identity fraud. So that goes to her mother.
Yes.
What we want her to do we want her to commit suicide? I think the caller before this one is wrong when she said that you are sympathizing with foreigners. This lady did nothing wrong. John, I want also to take note of the fact that yesterday I have seen something that I hope that the Hawks and NPA have a strong case against Charlotte lady. You know, the young lady, actually from the United States yesterday, actually she got a reception that actually amounted to that one of Thabo Dexter. I think it was more humiliation than anything.
I want to come back to what you said about. I'm going to give you what Kenny Kunene said, right? That she was the entrant, 23-year-old, was the proceeds of a crime. So even if she didn't know that she was her mother had stolen the ID, it's because of a crime that she was allowed to enter Miss South Africa. What do you say about that?
Yes, I understand that maybe they will say that maybe whatever she's doing is the fruit of the poisonous tree.
Yeah.
But I'm saying to you, I stole your car. In fact, I bought your stolen car from the dealership, in good faith, thinking that the car is legit. The sale is legit. The police will take the car from me. But they won't prosecute. Why are we prosecuting this lady?
They'll certainly investigate you. They'll certainly investigate you to see.
I mean, they will investigate. But I mean, at the end of the day, the purpose of she was not there. She was young. I mean, I like what the Home Affairs said, which is something that Kenny is not saying. That they said that they won't investigate Chadima herself. They won't investigate Chadima herself, but her mother. But I will tell you one thing. In future, John, I'm telling you, if this is how things will happen, I'm telling you, here in South Africa, we will be dealing. We are playing that man, not a ball. But I hope that that lady just stands strong. But I'm happy that she's out. Thank you very much.
In Pietermaritzburg, let's go to Brian in Protea Glen. Quickly, Brian.
Morning, John. Can I challenge your thinking?
Yeah, go for it.
If you got an apple seed in South Africa,
yes,
you check that apple seed you planted in America, then it grows as a tree. Do that apple will taste like a South African plant?
We spoke to a lawyer about this very topic. Was it yesterday or the day before? South Africa doesn't have a law to say that if you're born in South Africa, you are South African, unlike America.
Then we try to uproot that plant. What we are saying is that we are trying to put the pain on the young girl who was born here, and then forgetting that it's only blacks who are blaming each other. Look at the French national team. It's more black people, but they are not saying they are born in Africa.
I don't think skin color has anything to do with it, Brian. I think people of all races don't want illegal foreigners in South Africa. I think that's a fair saying.
No, the sad part is that we got a bad reputation with foreigners. Anything to do with foreigners, it's wrong. So let's force and introduce a law that says you are not allowed to have sex with a foreigner. You are not allowed a foreign person to have sex in South Africa, so that children like that won't be born in South Africa. Then all this trauma will stop, because the child is in pain right now.
Brian in Protea Glen. Okay, let's try and squeeze one more in. Anonymous, quickly.
Hi, how are you?
Very, very quickly. Kathy's waiting.
John, I think we are confused here. Let us not confuse ourselves. All this mess was caused by the ANC government. The ANC government has caused all this mess. Look at our cities. Our cities are like a kickstart. Our borders are vulnerable because of the ANC government. Now we are blaming everybody, blaming every person because of the ANC government. Thank you very much, sir.
Anonymous in Katlehong. So what have we got? Colonialists, apartheid, and the ANC are all to blame for this. We will resume this conversation, I'm sure, throughout the day and into the weekend and into next week as well. I'll be back again for some music between 10 and midnight tomorrow night. Have yourself a liquor weekend. Look after yourselves. It's a long weekend. Kathy's up next. Where in the world is she? You'll find out after the news at 9.
Top stories for this hour. The ANC creates an accountability framework and the DA welcomes the extradition of Charlotte from the US. Good morning, I'm Eva Chipa. The ANC has developed an outcomes and accountability framework for its 2024 manifesto after it was accused of lacking in implementation of its manifesto and government policies. ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula says this will help track the implementation of all its promises on a quarterly basis. The ANC has lost its majority for the first time since 1994 and now wants to recover the lost ground. Mbalula says his office will be responsible for ensuring that all their employees in the government implement what the organisation promised the electorate.
The quarterly reports on implementation of our manifesto will be submitted to the Secretary-General's office, and the SGO will be central in ensuring that all deployed cadres deliver on their mandates with regularized assessment processes. The NDC emphasized that proactive monitoring and evaluation will constitute important tasks, given that the GNU will not be business as usual, in order to fulfill our electoral mandate entailed in the election manifesto as well as ANC National Conference resolutions.
The DA in the Free State says the extradition from the US of the former personal assistant to then Free State Premier Ace Magashule will help the NPA in the quest for justice. Murwadi Cholota was initially mentioned by the prosecution in the 255 million rand asbestos roof removal case as a key witness, but she later backtracked and was then added as one of the accused. Cholota has been studying in the US. Free State DA MPL David van Vuren.
The DA in the Free State welcomes the extradition of the personal assistant of Ace Magashule. This will hopefully strengthen the hand of the NPA and ensure that justice will be done in the asbestos case.
The Patriotic Alliance's Deputy President Kenny Kunene says the party will withdraw its case against former Miss SA contestant Chidima Adichina following her withdrawal from the pageant. The PA had instituted urgent legal action to interdict her from participating in the Miss SA pageant, which was set to take place tomorrow. Earlier this week, the Home Affairs Department said it found prima facie evidence of fraud and identity theft allegedly committed by Adichina's mother after it launched an investigation into her citizenship. Kunene has welcomed the withdrawal.
She withdrew after realizing that the Patriotic Alliance is going to the courts to interdict her from participating. And she knew that we were going to win that case. So we are going to withdraw the matter because her withdrawal is exactly what we are asking the court to give us. So she realized that she was not going to succeed and we were going to win the case, or she was advised, and that's why she withdrew. So we will not proceed with the case because she has given us what we wanted the court to give us.
In other news, the Gauteng government will this morning pay tribute to women by hosting its provincial celebration at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. The celebration this year will be held under the theme Celebrating 30 Years of Democracy Towards Women's Development to pay tribute to the women who marched in protest against apartheid, including the passed laws. The proceedings will commence with the reenactment of the march from Lilingoyi Square to the Union Buildings. Spokesperson for the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and Recreation, Nomazwe Ntlokwana.
The march itself is really an opportunity for us to retrace the footsteps of our forebears who really walked that journey to the union buildings. About 20,000 women coming from all over South Africa, all the way to the union buildings.
And lastly, President Cyril Ramaphosa has concluded his working visit in Luanda, Angola. The president held talks with his Angolan counterpart, João Lourenço. The two leaders discussed bilateral relations between the two countries, with South Africa and Angola having strong relations. They also discussed the current political and security challenges which are being faced by the DRC. Angola, as the current chair of SADC, is facilitating the talks between stakeholders in the Great Lakes region with the aim of addressing the conflict in the DRC. Presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwe.
The two leaders further reflected on the security situation in the Great Lakes region. The president applauded President Lourenço for his effort in working for peace in the DRC and for achieving a ceasefire between the DRC and the Republic of Rwanda.
Recapping the top story for this hour, the ANC has developed an outcome and accountability framework for its 2024 manifesto after it was accused of lacking in implementation. For SAfm News, I'm Eva Chipa.
SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide.
TV licenses have developed a new GIS-linked national address database to ensure that we can communicate with all our valued license holders. We now have a visual of all licensed and unlicensed households nationwide in order to effectively communicate with you. We remind you to take note of our payment reminders and avoid paying penalties due to non-compliance or choosing to ignore your legal obligation to pay your license fees. We can communicate with all our license holders through cost-effective electronic methods, enabling us to collect license fees and continue to support the national broadcaster, the SABC, in accordance with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act No. 4 of 1999 as amended. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
The Miss South Africa 2024 finale will be live on Saturday, the 10th of August at 6 p.m. from the Sunbet Arena, Times Square, Menlyn, Maine. Good evening, Mzansi! Get your tickets for this crowning moment by going to misssa.co.za, downloading the official Miss SA app, or purchasing your tickets on ticketpro.co.za. Come and witness it live. SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
The Olympic medalist, Tatiana Smith, representing South Africa.
Tears of joy will certainly flow for Tatiana Smith.
Smith, silver.
I think this one is much different than any of my races. I'm so fortunate to get a medal.
For the love of the game.
SA Women's Struggles Journal. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development. On this Women's Day, SAfm celebrates the incredible strength, wisdom, and achievements of women everywhere. To all the amazing women, thank you for your endless contributions and inspiration. Happy Women's Day. SAfm, leading the conversations that move us. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
It was a culmination of the struggle of women. We went on trains, we went on buses, we went on cars, didn't we? Women used the little that they had.
What a sight. There were bright colours because some of them had blankets on, some of them came from the Eastern Cape and was probably on the road for 2 or 3 days. And others had little babies on their backs too.
It felt good to be in such a large crowd of women
And I think the work came to a standstill because all the workers were peeping through the windows. But the person who had gone to see was not available. He wasn't in his office.
I remember the NEC of the African National Congress actually questioning this. And it was Walter.
I think they were a bit peeved that they didn't do it.
I
the
think
women
so
were going
too.
to do it.
But we did it, particularly with the support of Walter. The march brought strength to the women because it made everybody in South Africa realize that they were a power to be reckoned with.
The slogan came at the end of it. Before we were dispersed, then the women of Natal started that one. Watinti Wabafazi, Watinti Mbogodo. That's where it started.
You touch the women,
you strike a rock.
Walter admired what the women did. And I remember after the march to Pretoria, the women march to Pretoria, he said, I wonder how they dared. He was really filled with awe and wonder at the way that women organized.
Uyazizwa lezo zigi yangeni mbogodo. Uyazizwa lezo zigi yanyatheli mbogodo. Yangena kwashunquthuli hebya. Yangena baniki namakhanda. Yangena baqala babagaza. Bayibuza ukuthi wenza kanjani. Yangena kwashunquthuli hebya. Yangena baniki namakhanda. Yangena baqala babagaza. Bayibuza ukuthi wenza kanjani.
Indeed, Phakama Mbogodo. You heard there the voices of Dr. Ruth Mompati, Tiny Nokwe and Amina Kachalia, all of them reflecting on their participation in the 1956 Women's March to the Union buildings protesting against past laws under the apartheid government. It is single-handedly one of the biggest protest marches that had been launched in this country at the time against the apartheid state. And it was women that were behind it, women that put together their resources, women that put together their collective strategies and plans just to be able to stand and make sure that their voices were going to be heard, that they were not going to be ignored. And perhaps it's a reminder, right, for us as women today, in 2024, women who make up the majority of this country, that if we get together, if we organize like the women of 1956 did, perhaps we will be able to effect the kind of change that this country needs, the kind of change that our society is yearning for. But it all begins with us getting together, standing united, and saying no is no, especially when it comes to some of the issues in our society that affect women the most. Happy Women's Day. Welcome to the show. It's 13 after 9 o'clock. I'm Kathy Mutlahlana. It's a pleasure to have you with us on this public holiday as we remember the strength of women, as we celebrate the power of women in our country. We'll do that throughout the show. And of course, I'm more than happy to take your calls on the open line. You are going to have the opportunity to dial in a moment. 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial. 086 000 2032. And I guess it is somewhat bittersweet, right? That as we celebrate Women's Day, we know, of course, that there is a particular young woman that has been the subject of lots of headlines in this country. And that statement that Chidima Adesina put on her Instagram, withdrawing from the Miss South Africa competition, citing safety concerns for her and her family as the reason behind it. This is a debate that has divided the country. Lots of people feel very strongly and feel very differently about how this entire saga has unfolded. But whether or not you approve, whether or not you think somebody who is not a South African national should be allowed to participate in South African competitions, whether you are not confused about what you think should or shouldn't make somebody South African, at the heart of it is a young 23-year-old whose life has literally unraveled in the full glare of not only this country, but this continent and the world. I saw this making headlines. It was on the BBC website. I saw it on France 24. I saw it on CNN. This young girl's life has literally unraveled in front of the whole world and continues to unravel. So in the midst of the debate, spare a thought for her and what she could possibly be going through in this moment. Often we talk about how public figures deal with all sorts of issues, including, one's mental health. And we've had the conversation around how public debates impact the lives of individuals. And it's just one of the things that we have to be mindful of as we continue to have this debate about what is right and what is wrong, and perhaps even have a conversation around how something like this can be dealt with differently. Are there different approaches, different pathways that perhaps we need to be developing as a country? Because she's absolutely not the last person who's going to face the kind of scrutiny that she